Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the LPL Unofficial English broadcast brought to you by the power of friends and many people who love and have so much respect and passion for this region. My name is Mark Rafa Alexander Arambide. Joining me on the cast for the first day of the LPL Spring 2025 split is my, oh my God, I can't even, a best friend is not a good enough word. This guy's my confidant. He's my ride or die, Dimitri Alk-Battery Toledo, brother. Let's get it. What do we got going on today?
We've got, first of all, an amazing format. I'm already kind of getting ahead of myself here, but we've got a lot of great things coming in for the new season of LPL. And if for the people who were watching us before for Demacia Cup, if you thought that tournament was getting a little wild, we've got a lot of stuff ahead of us. So
Yes, sir.
strap in. It's going to be a long season.
That's right. And for those that are tuning in, you are getting your very first look of official competitive pro play on the brand new season, the brand new map of Noxus. Now, there was technically an LCK, special cup show match, but, that didn't count for anything. That was, just to determine, it was a show match. But this is first look at the Noxus map. We've got so much stuff to cover, Dimitri, but obviously we're going to have to roll into that later on once the game starts, and we'll try to catch everyone up on, things like Atakan and whatnot, but we got to run everyone through how the format for this spring split is going to go down.
It's a pretty long one, at least for this first split. The big qualification is to go to that first international with the full Fearless. These are our groups, going to be groups of 4 with 4 teams in them. They're going to play a single round robin best of 5 between every one of these teams, and top 2 out of each group advances into the playoffs. Now, if you're able to end in first, you immediately get a first round bye, which means you get to take part in the double elimination part of the playoff bracket. If you're coming in second, you're going into that bottom side of the ground, and it's tough. It is a very cutthroat format. Later on, once we get to Split 2, we're actually going to be saying goodbye to 2 teams in the LPL. They're no longer going to be playing, so by June, 2 teams are just done for the entire competitive calendar, which is really insane to think about.
But bringing it back to the spring split here as we take a look at these 4 groups, as you mentioned, top 2 of each 4 groups here will advance. This is a single round robin, each match a best of 5. With tonight, we'll be taking a look and a first peek at Group B with a match between OMG and Weibo Gaming. Now, these 2 teams, in terms of matchup being favored, Dimitri, we saw a preview of what these 2 teams could do in the Demacia Cup, and I think it's already, showing that this group is especially going to be favored for Weibo Gaming as one of the front runners for this group.
I mean, we could just take a look. We can immediately kind of cut to some of the content creators that we had kind of coming through. We look at the roster that you have for Weibo. You have Breathe, Tien, Xiaohu, Light, and Hung. These are just, I think when you look at the Weibo team that ended up going to Worlds this last year, there were a couple of questions as to how they were going to do. Great performance all around, I think, considering what they were able to accomplish. But look, you're bringing in Tien from a TES that unfortunately wasn't able to kind of get things done. You have Breathe, who actually has been a really great top laner historically, and I think has always kind of brought his teams to a higher level, especially when we look across his history, minus maybe some RNG days. And now they've gotten rid of Chris, they brought in Hung. There is, I think, a pretty high ceiling. It just is whether or not that Weibo is actually going to come out and play. This team is notoriously very slow at being able to get things done, and hopefully with some different pieces, we see this team actually be able to be that big monster that we expect for them to be with just the names on the table.
Right, and I think a little bit of the preview we saw from Demacia Cup, for those that didn't get a chance to watch that tournament, Weibo Gaming showed some promising stuff when Tian and Hong were working together in that first part of group stage, and then I want to say the first part of the bracket stage in the quarterfinal. Those 2 linked up super well. I got very excited just by Hong as a player who had a very aggressive and a forward-thinking mindset, always looking for an initiation and engage play of some sort. And Tian, we know historically, this guy has had some of the most, highest highs of any player from the LPL, being a former world champion for FPX back in 2019, and obviously has always been trying to reach back for that peak once again as he's, played throughout the years in the LPL. But for the other side, OMG, not as much star power when you look at this Weibo Gaming roster.
Hey, they've got an 80 carry with the name Star in his name. Maybe there is, maybe from 80 carry.
I'm sorry, that might have been a little too disrespectful on my part.
Look, Moham went to Worlds. Just saying. Okay, all right, it's fine. He went to Worlds. He did go to
Worlds. He did go to Worlds, Dimitri.
Slightly different roster, but yeah, for OMG, it's kind of sticking with a bit of a similar roster to what we saw from them last year. Starry getting not a necessarily his starting spot back, but no longer having to play with Untitled or having Abel kind of slot in. We're going to finally see at the beginning of a year Starry being able to kind of come in for this team as someone who has been a big development piece for this squad. And now that they've brought in Hung from LNG, I think that despite some of the newer faces, there are still, I think, some firepower in this squad, and we're going to be looking towards the bottom lane and jungle of this team to really kind of get that done.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned that this is now Starry's kind of first official position as the dedicated starter for OMG. It's the same case for Linfeng, who was also a developmental piece for OMG for a couple years. And if you think about some of the mid laners that have walked through OMG's doors in past years, obviously Angel came through and played for the team last year, but Cream, probably the most notable person that was with OMG for a long period of time before eventually making his way to top esports. And now Linfeng has to fill in these shoes. And obviously for OMG, you have two carry players that are essentially developmental pieces making their starting debut. And for what it's worth, and given that, we've had some other content creators around the globe give their share of predictions, normally players like Linfeng and Starry would make, people a little more worried, like, we don't know if we're going to go that far in their first official split, but they're thinking that they might even do better than Ultra Prime, who has, players of their own that have a little bit more experience than these two.
Yeah, this would be, I think, also reflective of the group. We were talking about Demacia Cup a little bit earlier on in the show at the beginning of the day, but they were in the same group as Ultra Prime. OMG both had that best of one up against them, and they were able to beat them there. So I think reflective of some of the highlights we were able to see. I am expecting for OMG to be able to kind of take this group at least from a third position. We talk about this group in general. You also have JDG, which will be playing later on in the week. So a lot of big names, I think, for the top two teams, and any bit of an upset that you can get. We kind of were talking a little bit about how cutthroat the format can be. You take a single loss in a series that you're expected to win, and that might just kind of ruin your split for the next coming months. Right? Suddenly, let's say Weibo, they lose out here. Well, now we're expecting them to at least take a close series versus JDG. They have to win versus Ultra Prime, but immediately probably not looking at a first place spot there.
As you're seeing on your screen, just a overall general highlight reel of what we saw in the Demacia Cup, mostly the group stage here. But I do want to kind of focus in on, what we were talking about earlier, Dimitri, about how this is really a debut and a preview of Group B, where the other two teams in this group, as we saw earlier, JDG and Ultra Prime. And the fact that OMG kind of, were able to stand up to Ultra Prime, perform, just slightly better than them, does, when we kind of look at where we expect and predict all four teams within Group B respectively to place, a lot of us have OMG actually making it the third seed. We still put JDG and Weibo Gaming as the favorites and the forerunners, but, if you're an OMG fan who wants to see this organization go far and, mainly around these two developmental pieces in Linfeng and Starry, I think there's a lot to hope for.
Yeah, and when we talk about the developing rosters that are in the tournament, the thing for me is less about playing for Split 1. I think we're going to see a lot of growth, especially for some of the up-and-coming teams, to be really in Split 2. Full Fearless is obviously great for that, but being able to play so many best-of-5s early on into the season, you have a lot of time to work in between both the Split 1 regular season and the playoffs, so I think right there, for me, I'm looking at whether or not OMG is going to be really relevant, especially with the cutoff that we were talking about. So these are our predictions going into this group. For me, I'm the only person that actually wants to stand out and put JDG first. I just can't do that to my boy Twin. He's just too good. And we can take a look at some of our content creators. So we have some of the content creators from around some of the different languages kind of helping in. And we were like, okay, here you go, kind of fill in your groups. Everyone has this group in this exact order, as you see here. Weibo first, JDG second, OMG Ultra Prime in third and fourth. It's not even, it just doesn't seem like much. We don't have any believers here.
Listen, I think before we saw Demacia Cup, everyone would have put JDG first and Weibo Gaming second. Maybe Ultra Prime third and OMG. But a lot of the stocks are in what we saw in that early preview of Demacia Cup, and the fact that JDG did not escape their group and Thunder Talk emerged over them, gives a little hesitancy to about how well JDG is going to sync up at the beginning of the year. Now, I will say, I expect JDG to scale up, and by the time we get to summer, should be, on paper, a powerhouse that should compete internationally with, some of the other favorites from the LPL. But as of now, the things that we saw in Demacia Cup, a little shaky on the execution and synergy there.
Unfortunately, I just can't do that to my boy Scout. I've loved this guy for too long. He's been such a top-level player here in the league. So it's one of those things where like you just see the names and you're like, this team just can't. They can't go like. First of all, look, we've got time here. Weibo, I love you, especially for the person who's running the social media on the Twitter account. You're doing God's work out there. But we had a large portion of this team already play. We kind of saw them in Demacia Cup. They got to semifinals, were taken out by Anyone's Legends, who did go up to win the entire tournament later on. But I think a lot of the same issues kind of started to plague that team, and I'm just worried about the bottom lane here for Light and Hung. I mean, Light has always been, I think, a very good scaling AD carry when we talk about him. We also have kind of seen him been playing with Crisp for a long time, who, despite some of his criticism, has been one of the top-level supports in the region for such a long time. It's, I think, mostly getting flagged for some of those low lows that very clippable, but just I think that Weibo might be a little bit slower. They got more time to play, so I'm willing to take egg on that. But I agree, like you were saying, I really want to see this JDG roster kind of scale up as we get further into the night.
Well, thankfully, or unthankfully, however you want to look at it, we're not going to be able to answer that question for JDG tonight. That will be another night when we get to see them play against Ultra Prime, I believe, on... It's either Monday.
That is the Monday, January 20th. So about 8 days from today.
Now, is that, actually, no. It is Monday morning. I keep thinking of things that the night before leading up, because to me, this still feels like Saturday, even though technically right now it is Sunday, These are the things that happen. It's time zone gap, bro. Yeah, it's a time zone gap. We're getting time zone gapped. It is what it is. But, a preview of what we can expect for Weibo Gaming and OMG if we want to start diving into things like the new season, new patch. If anyone has not watched any competitive League of Legends whatsoever, whether it's, your solo queue games, a co-streamer, your favorite streamer playing on the Noxus map, we got to talk about Otacon. This objective, the blood roses all around the map, absolutely broken. This thing is super busted. The amount of XP that you are getting, the adaptive force, literally game breaking.
Okay, yeah, so let's do a very quick rundown. For everybody who's just like, guys, there's this new Noxus theme. What's going on the Rift? You're going to see probably a lot of darker colors just because it is Noxus, so think of browns, reds, some darker grays as well, but new objectives. First of all, we have a complete reordering of all of the different kind of objectives. You're still going to have Grubs at 14 minutes. Herald is now spawning at 16 minutes. Otacon, the new objective, is going to spawn at 20, and Baron's now at 25. Otacon is the newest addition. This is a creature that at 14 minutes is going to determine whether or not it spawns on the top or bottom side of the map, and it's going to provide huge bonuses based on how much action is in the game. So if there's a ton of kills, a lot of champion damage, we're going to get a Otacon that gives a bunch of rewards to epic monsters, and in a lower kill game, aka all the LCK games, you are going to get permanent gold bonuses onto enemy takedowns and a one-time GA. So you can, all 5 of you, dive an enemy AD carry, take his flash, kill him, respawn, basically within 5 seconds, and you're just back out on the map. And they barely get any resources from it. You get 100 gold for killing a guy with the Otacon GA, which is just insane to me. So Also, not even mentioning the blood roses. They're just going to spawn around the map, usually around where people die. They give 25 experience, but you rack these up incredibly fast. It is insane how much you can get. 50 blood roses is about 1,100 experience, which by itself, around the time you're going to be seeing these objectives, that's just a full level. So not only are you going to be ahead in gold, you're going to be ahead in experience, you're going to get more items, the game is going to feel a lot faster. There's just more stuff to do, which personally, I like.
It makes for a much more snowbally meta, which, you know, depending on, you know, which region we're looking at, either plays into, you know, their historical strengths or away from their historical strengths. So for LPL, I think this is something that, you know, most of the teams will be able to thrive and fully embrace in the chaos and just the volatility. That's something that, you know, LPL teams, I think historically we've just not shied away from at all. You know, oh, there's now making First Blood a straight up objective. Hell yeah, sign me up, brother, get me in there. Level 1 invades, all duke it out, you know, running multiple ignites, trying to secure that First Blood. Yeah, actually, we should go into the feats of strength and also how that works, Dimitri.
Yeah, feats of strength. So First Blood and First Tower are no longer just like miniature objectives that just say, hey, look, you've achieved First Blood. There's much more than that. There's no longer a bonus, so you're not going to get 300 coins just killing someone. You're going to get that First Blood, and it's going to immediately contribute towards these feats of strength. Now, the 3 objectives that you play for the game is going to be First Blood, First Tower, and first to 3 epic monsters. So if you're able to get at least 2 of these, if you're the team to first get 2 of those objectives, 2 out of 3, you're going to get a tier 2 boots enchant, and then later on you're going to be able to purchase tier 3 boots. Now, all of the tier 3 boots, don't look at what you see on Twitter or on Reddit. They're wrong. These people are posting like different kinds of streams of like, we have 75% win rate when you get the tier 3 boots. Well, by that time, you're probably also already have won the game even before the feats of strength. So don't buy the boots a lot of the time. You need 2 legendary items anyway, so you kind of have to wait. But some are more broken than others. If you have plated steel caps or the Merc treads, buy those upgrades. They give you percent max HP shields based on magic and physical damage. There's just no reason. No reason for this to exist.
You know, sometimes when we have new seasons come in and there are certain changes that just like completely warp how the game is played, you know, I live for that. These item upgrades, I'm still on the fence about, but I'm kind of down for just to introduce more chaos into the game itself, because it does make for a more entertaining spectacle. And that's what I'm all about here, as we're already getting a chance to see the 2 teams walk onto the stage right now. We have OMG bowing and greeting the crowd and taking their place.
Man, I love the studio. I know the last couple years we've had different studios located in different cities over in China, which is always super fun, but this studio is just super great because it has like this big hallway that opens up, but when it's done, the 2 big screens close in the middle. So it actually looks seamless. It's very beautiful. But here's Weibo coming on out, doing some of their walkouts. Hopefully we get another team like TT last year that are really, really emotive during their kind of walkouts, but all right, Weibo's just going to do the regular stance. I'm surprised we're not doing the 5 esports gamers huddle up, but...
Well, the funny thing with whenever we see the pro teams do this, it's, you know, the attempt to look super hard, you know, and look badass, which I think there are some players with the certain presence they have can definitely pull it off. But sometimes it looks kind of like, you know, awkward middle school kids. But this time, I like the hands behind the back. It's very respectful. It's just, you know, standard, cut and clean. Also,
I just love all of the announcers usually for LPL because they're just so wonderfully dressed. It's so every time I tune into the opening ceremony, whether it's one of the actual announcers, one of it's just the hosts for the stage, they're always beautiful. They always got something going on that I think is super unique compared to other regions. So for everybody who's just joining us, we are going to be getting into games soon. However, something that is new to the LPL this year, alongside the format and a couple of other changes, we have got a side select 1v1. So for all of our best of 5s, and at least for this starting split of split 1, all of the series are going to be decided by a 1v1 between 2 selected members of each team. Now, Harry did win the side select, which means that OMG are going to be on the blue side for this 1v1. And I know during Demacia Cup we had some for the most part, dangerous 1v1s going up. We had the Varus versus Draven matchups. There's that one time we had Corki versus Heimerdinger, which happened, I guess.
I mean, what would you prefer watching? Another Draven 1v1 or the Corki Heimerdinger?
So, I was getting into this, actually. So, Yanni was the one that was covering it, I think, alongside Shimada. I don't remember the schedule, for I'll be 100% honest. But he was very against the 1v1s when they started bringing out the Heimerdinger and Corki because it was very boring. However, I actually like those because, for what it's worth, and they can be a little boring, I get it, action-wise, but I think it is more interesting to watch how two different players figure out how to get to a certain objective faster. So getting to 100 CS first. How do you do that? Are you going to go into your jungle and start doing that when you have off time? You can recall in this because we are playing on Summoner's Rift, so you have a couple of different options of being able to hit 100 a bit earlier than your opponent, although we've just been seeing some pretty standard laning. And as the season goes on, I wonder if we're also going to get some unique picks. I know you were very, very interested on seeing Warwick coming up.
Dude, I want to see Warwick actually being played more in competitive League of Legends because I think that champion genuinely has a particular niche in certain drafts. And, you know, with the introduction of Fearless Draft globally around the world, this is not just going to be LPL, it's going to be LCK, LTA, and LEC as well. Maybe, just maybe, we might see the Wolf, you know, make its appearance in these games. Now, you know, 1v1, it definitely can't have a place because there's no jungle interference whatsoever, and Warwick's sustain is one of the highest, if not almost unmatched in 1v1s, but Teemo versus Kalista, that is absolutely diabolical from Hurry, just knowing the matchup data from all the 1v1s has been mostly marksman. This man has cooked up an absolutely... Oh, I can't say words that would be not safe for stream, but man, that is, yeah, diabolical is the best way I can put it politely.
This guy's about to get I feel so bad for Breathe. You're just gonna have to do. There's no jungler coming up there. Every 3 seconds, basically, you're not gonna be able to play the game. And for Kalista, it's so dangerous because you can already lose the auto attack if you lose vision of them. Let's say Teemo goes into a brush, and now he's gonna have to deal with. Now I can't auto attack for a couple of seconds. Kalista is a champion that did get some of her like soft mechanics reworked or at least changed and supposed to be updated. If you guys missed out on the patch, they kind of reworked some of the computation on her passive, so her martial plays her ability to jump around after every auto attack. We'll see. I played around with it. It feels slightly smoother. She is also a little bit more resistant to slows, so Ashe as a champion is not going to be as devastating to play against as Kalista, but Teemo Kalista just sounds insanely miserable. Jesus.
Yeah, man. My goodness. Now, I don't think I've been this hyped for a 1v1 matchup yet for side select since I'm trying to remember who did Cream play against when he played the Yasuo matchup, because he played that.
Yasuo Caitlyn, right?
Yeah, and he played it so damn well. Like, I thought that Yasuo was screwed in that matchup, but Cream knew how to be able to gap close onto the Caitlyn and just make use of the fact that it doesn't matter if it's a 650 range gap, you know? Yasuo can just flow through minions and then completely ruin Caitlyn's stay. Now, I don't know if Kalista has a way to navigate the Teemo matchup like that.
No. So usually it's I call my jungler or I tell my support to run at this guy, but that's not happening. And we've got our first look at the new map. It is very dark.
And it's very red. This kind of reminds me of the old days of League when it would have like the seasonal maps, and this was like the Halloween type map.
True.
So this gives me a little bit of nostalgia. Now, I'm just hoping by the end of the year, since if for anyone that didn't watch the Season 1 Noxus introduction and dev update, they did talk about that each season was going to be slightly different. So we might have different maps. And to my understanding, Noxus will not be throughout the entire year. It is just for this first split here. So maybe we'll get winter map, because I miss the winter map, Dimitri, so much.
It's not coming back, bro. They hate us.
No, come on, don't say that.
They hate us, bro.
If there's a will, there's a way. Quick question.
Mark, what's up?
Does cleanse break blind?
I don't know. I haven't been blinded in a long time, so... Yes! Alright, look,
Well,
we found out. Yes, it does. Oh my god, and Harry has exhaust. Get me out of here, bro. If I'm playing Kalista and I get exhausted, I actually just can't focus, bro.
I mean,
so, already... What were you going to say? Go.
No. I mean, Breathe is already forced to pop both of his summoner spells, and Harry getting the nice cheese, waiting in stealth, gets the extra bit of attack speed, and now he still has an exhaust to play with.
I mean... Breathe is winning the health trade right now, and because there is right now, Breathe teching for some different kind of runes here. By picking up the biscuits, he'll have an additional amount of HP that he's allowed to play around, and you can kind of see it in the pip over in the bottom left. But all the players, while they're playing this 1v1, they have their coaches that are still mic'd in so they can hear them talking, and their fellow teammates that are also talking about the matchup with them. So you can kind of see it in Harry's cam. Moham's just standing behind him, and you kind of have a little bit of that pressure of, damn, if I lose this, I lose side select, which is very important on this patch, by the way.
Dude, the over-the-shoulder view from Moham is very ominous, you know? It's almost like the younger brother watching is like, hey, are you winning, bro? It's like, and then he starts chirping the background's like, you missed this minion. You missed the cannon. You missed it.
But that's just hanging out with your homies, though, right? Like, if you just hang out and call, it's like you miss a cannon minion while you're watching the Discord stream, and it's -1.
Yeah.
-1.
And now he's standing up. So now, what would you rather have? You know, your friend, you know, sitting at least parallel level with you, or standing over your shoulder?
I guess parallel level. Some people get weird about standing over your shoulder. I'm looking at Kai right now. Oh, we're doing the 1v1.
Here we go. A blind. Oh, wait, he got it. Breathe got it. The last auto attack into the rend. Damn you, Teemo! It doesn't even matter. Your blind does not affect Breathe at all as he wins the side select.
Wait, through exhaust, through the... Okay, so we'll see what Weibo are going to be going for. They were big blue side warriors over in Demacia Cup, and rightfully so. Red side right now is currently hampered with the fact that they have to ban both the Skarner and the... oh man, not Victor. Damn, what am I? I'm thinking about. Oh, Rumble. That's what it was. That champion's really busted right now. So yeah, Skarner, Rumble are basically permanent red side additions, and makes it just so much easier to draft from blue side. So hopefully we'll see that from Weibo.
I can't believe that just happened, Dimitri.
I don't understand how he won this, man.
Kalista beat Teemo. This is just like the Yasuo Caitlyn 1v1, where we clearly expected that the range or a certain part of the matchup was going to be so overpowering, so overwhelming, and it doesn't matter. Breathe willed for a way to it happen, and, you know, Weibo Gaming, they're going to take blue side, and as you said, you know, OMG more than likely going to have to resort to banning both Skarner and Rumble, as, you know, if it wasn't for, you know, Rumble just being straight up a powerful champion in its own right, there have been some changes in this new season with the runes, particularly Axiom Arcanist. It is now a new sorcery tree rune in the upper tier. I think it took over what was the what was it? The magic shield. I can't remember.
Nullifying.
Yeah, nullifying shield. So that no longer exists. But the Axiom Arcanist, guys, like, we already have a rune called Ultimate Hunter that reduces your ultimate cooldown. Axiom Arcanist increases your ultimate's damage output. It also increases if it does healing or shielding output. And then, when it's off cooldown, any takedowns you score on champions reduces that cooldown by another 7%. That is just insane to me for champions like Rumble, for champions like Kennen, who don't need something like Mana Flow Ban because they're energy champions. And I would even argue that there might be some certain matchups where, like, if you don't need the mana sustain, or you can run another item that'll take care of it for you, you can just spec into that. Axiom Arcanist is a crazy rune right now.
So I learned the hard way, by the way, that Axiom Arcanist does not work on some champions that I would really wish it would. I'm trying to remember what champion, because it was an ARAM, I'll be honest. You know, I'm not going to take the most, the best kind of, yeah, I'm trying to find what champion. It was a champion that I really wanted to press. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay. So if your ultimate is on a duration like Ari, where it's like, hey, you have this amount of time to use all of your charges or it falls off, any kills you get during that time, don't count towards Archimist because the ability hasn't gone on cooldown yet. So just things to think about. Weibo, though, with this blue side, they're going to be ones to ban the Rumble, even with OMG having it, meaning that they're not comfortable, at least in this first game. Reminder for everybody, a full best of 5 is the series that we're going to be having through this entire split 1 of LPL.
I wonder if that means by banning Rumble on the blue side, you don't even want to take the chance of fighting for the Rumble on blue side. Yeah. You'd rather wait for other other priority picks like the Ashe, like the Varus, to be used once in this best of 5, and then later down the road when Rumble becomes one of the few, if not only priority pick you desperately want and you're on blue side, then you can force the opposition to try and ban. And if they don't, then free Rumble for you, and you don't lose that much in on the switch up towards the other side.
Yeah. Rumble's also just a champion that we do expect for a lot of top laners to be able to pick up, but it is a champion that isn't necessarily the most popular for someone like Breathe, at least in his career. Only has about 12 games on it, 3 and 9 is his total score. So yeah, interesting. And like you were saying, there are other priorities. Ashe, a champion. Ashe and Varus are 2 champions that did get nerfed on this patch, at least a little bit. They got tuned. So I'm interested to see what exactly we get from them. Going for the Aurora, another mid lane champion that we did get to see from Xiaohu earlier on in Demacia Cup. But this Ashe Braum, very, very potent. And for OMG, I won't lie, getting an Orianna Braum doesn't feel too bad, or an Orianna Nocturne doesn't feel too bad on the back end.
Yeah. I mean, you have guaranteed engage now set up, paranoia into the shockwave combo. At this point, so many teams have been able to get the execution down that it's kind of expected, no longer a novelty. Obviously, it's still super cool when we see it pulled off, but now, you know, it's no longer like, whoa, like no other team has been able to do that. But as we move into the second round of picks and bans, you look at the other side, Weibo Gaming have not locked into their jungler, obviously. So they're going to take off some aggressive options. And because we've already alluded to this new season being a lot more snowball-y, favoring a lot more, you know, the more experience that you're able to pick up with these Blood Roses, fighter junglers are going to rise in prominence. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of tank junglers if it's not something like the Skarner, which is, you know, still such a powerhouse on its own. So that's why you see the Xin Zhao band, the Wukong band as well.
Okay. For OMG, I think it's only right to be going for a support counter here. Now, Leona's not great, and with Rel gone as well, that was one of the biggest champions that Moham kind of made his name on. One of the criticisms that I actually had for OMG was the fact that Moham, in their series during Demacia Cup, was someone that was always looking for engages. I think was sometimes in a position where the rest of his team really couldn't follow up and ended up either falling or having to use his abilities before a really big fight. So I wanted to see what him and Starry could do as the game is able to develop and with a little bit more time. But going for the Varus Nico, we're going for double range bottom lane here. And the Orianna Aurora matchup, to my knowledge, they have very similar ranges versus each other, but Orianna is just able to eke her out just very narrowly with her command move, and it is up to Aurora to kind of get around that and be able to deal damage. So if she can get underneath her, Aurora can be very dangerous here. Are we potentially getting Tian's most played champion all time?
So
no,
a few
I'm getting
seconds
baited.
On the clock. I mean, maybe, but going with Viego, you already have some decent amount of burst to set up that. Don't tease me, Moham. Stop that.
No, I already got baited by hovers. I already got baited. I did it for us. We don't have to do it.
Yeah, I know. With Viego on the table, Weibo Gaming playing through jungle mid this game, relying on Xiaohu and Tian to get a majority of these kills and resets going for themselves, with Breathe having to blind pick this Cassante. Harry's just going to go for the Gnar, counterpick, try to play that range matchup. However, we know that any time that this Gnar does get jumped on early on in the laning phase and falls behind to something like this, you know, Cassante super tank, it does get a lot more difficult to try and keep the Cassante down. So curious to see where Tian really wants to focus his efforts in this game.
And with Otacon, the way that it spawns is based on local champion damage, whether it's on the bottom side or on the top side. So champion damage as well as kills. So this might be one where it could spawn on either side of the map. You do have the Gnar that's going to constantly be able to attack the Cassante in lane. You have a double range bottom lane as part of this lane. For OMG, I like what they've got themselves set up with. You have priority coming in from both of the side lanes here. You have an Orianna that can link up with the Nocturne here. But what I'm looking for from Weibo is that ability to actually start fights. They are a relatively low-range composition. You have the Viego alongside this Aurora. The Aurora ultimate no longer kind of stuns people if you were able to hit the wall. So we're really looking at what Light is able to pull off. And if they can get summoner spells before a fight, that is going to be kind of their ticket to be able to find fights. Otherwise, I'm worried that this team might not have enough damage or enough firepower to really fire back against an OMG squad.
You are kind of relying on getting to an objective first then, if you are in Weibo Gaming's case, and hoping that OMG is going to walk into your effective range and then allow you to start getting those resets going. Because when you look on the other side, you've got Paranoia, and that can easily cloak things like Anar trying to flank, Chain of Corruption's flying towards you, Nico. That is the most I am terrified about if I am in the seats of Weibo Gaming, having to deal with a Pop Blossom that, you know, can be somewhat predictable in normal, you know, vision, but when the lights are all turned out, it doesn't matter if Nico is not disguised as a clone or not. You don't get to hear any of the sound cues. You don't get to see anything that's going on, and suddenly, you know, 4 or 5 man Pop Blossom is right on top of your head.
Oh, and we get the cinematic camera coming out from the LPL. It's the very first game of 2025, one of the first competitive games we're going to be having on this new season and new patch as well. So exciting stuff here for fans alike, for just LoL esports as a whole. Hung already getting a bit cheeky with it, trying to find some early wards here. If he gets spotted, he could be in a very dangerous position. And for everybody at home that was wondering, did they get rid of lane swaps? No. No, they did not. If anything, they incentivized them with stuff like Atakan early.
Now, quick, they didn't see Hung. Now, we didn't see what happened, but here's the replay showing Moham was caught in the jungle as the rest of Weibo Gaming went for an invade, and as soon as they slowed Moham, he knew he had to burn flash, otherwise he was going to get run down by Ashe, and that is something you always have to be respectful of in terms of level 1. But with the lane swap and the fact that Hung was not spotted by Breathe as he went towards the bottom side of the map, he is going to get to chance to full clear this entire red quadrant on the bottom side of the map.
Oh, and wait, and now Light actually lost out. You know, has no cleanse here. They're not going to be able to grab that last bit of damage. You'll be able to walk up, and also you see this by getting damage down onto Moham. There's no flash. They do have the heal here, but this double summoner spell bottom lane is going to be very dangerous, especially with, they know, you see the pings coming out. Viego is on this side of the map. Hung is not going to be able to help. Even if he recalls right now and runs to this, he's going to be extremely weak as this Nocturne. So OMG's their bot lane has to be incredibly careful as long as they don't want to immediately give over one of those feats of strength.
Which is why you saw Starry and Moham in a 2v1 immediately back up and give respect to Light in that space, in that top river entrance, as Tian now looking for the ankle. Even if they don't get a kill, if you force a cleanse, if you force a flash, it is super beneficial. Boom, cleanse gone. Now Starry only has one other summoner spell, and if he ever gets tagged by a Braum Q or just an auto attack from Hong, he is going to have the flash, or it's going to be an early kill for Light.
Another systemic change, which we'll be able to talk about this game, considering how many teleports we have, is the change to the Summoner Spell Teleport. It's no longer an instantaneous blink. As soon as the channel time of 2.5 seconds is over, your character basically does what is a miniature Akali E and just floats along the rest of the screen. Think of like your Hextech portals that you have. So it's not instantaneous. You have to wait at least maybe up to 8 seconds of a teammate being able to get there, which is not exact. It takes a little bit of setup, and it's definitely something you got to get used to on this new patch. And we'll see how these teams adjust as some different strategies start to appear with the new Summoner spell.
Yeah, man, this is such a rough start for Starry and Moham on the top side of the map. Their jungler was forced to start away from them, full clearing the entire bottom quadrant. So weak side for pretty much the first 4.5 minutes of the game. You're already seeing that Hung is trying to set up some deep vision so that they can see the second rotation of these Raptors here. But the fact that Moham had to burn flash from that level 1 invade can't really support Starry, despite it being a double range lane that should be able to get you a little bit of priority and agency in the lane. Now, no cleanse from Starry. I mean, Light and Hong have full control of this lane.
Yeah, this is kind of similar to what we saw from the OMG games in their group during Demacia Cup. Great ward coming out. They should be able to see these Raptors. And Tian, if he wants to move into mid, looking potentially at a flash from Lin Feng.
Tian can look to close the distance with a flash W, but because of the mist, he can just close the distance with the movement speed, and Linfeng is just going to accept his death. No point in burning the flash, and first blood and the first feat of strength is awarded to Tian and Weibo Gaming.
Great job of getting that. Is able to also steal those raptors, so Tian being able to accelerate himself. When we talk about these two junglers, they're two players that kind of have different styles, but end up kind of having the same overall objective, which is give me resources, and I'm going to be a pretty big driver for our success in the game. Usually, Tian is a little bit more focused on his early game, like so skirmishing junglers where he can. And for Hung, so far from what we got from Demacia Cup, and I think this last year in the LPL, he's been someone that is really playing for those strong level 6 junglers. We're able to have big impacts. We saw his Rumble be able to be played. Here's the new teleport, as you can see. You basically turn into a little orb, you kind of teleport on through, but for Hung, I want to see how OMG are going to be able to give him more resources to be able to eventually become a really big carry, because when you are playing this Nocturne, you are obviously playing in tandem with your Orianna, but you need to be strong in your own individual, otherwise this combo really falls apart.
Yeah, other than the paranoia, you don't bring that much utility outside of just being able to turn off the lights and maybe tethering someone for a fear. You are expected to do a little bit of damage in your department, and that does depend entirely on how well you are keeping up with the pace of the overall game. And because he did have to start on the bottom side of the map, he's not necessarily decelerated, but he's definitely not in the most optimal position, with Tian already making moves on the map, getting first blood and creating priority for Xiaohu in this lane. He's going to try to look for something mid lane as the shockwave connects. Xiaohu is in trouble, but he's going to pop between worlds and maybe look for a trade of 1v1 kills onto Linfeng, but he's just using it to create space, and he dodges away from Hung, and this guy gives time for Tian to now take grubs, knowing that Hung can't do anything. He's not level 6. There's no way to collapse.
Oh, are they going to continue to push for this? If Tian's able to grab the last grub here, he's able to get level 6.
Oh no.
Oh no.
He might
Oh
have to
no.
flash. Hong is going to tag him, and now Hong is in trouble, but the flash from the Braum tags him with the winner's bite. Concussive blows fully stacked. Xiaohu takes the second kill of the game.
Oh my god. So not only they're not going to finish this, he's actually going to try and steal another Raptor camp away here from the side of Hung. That's a really great start here for Weibo. They've already grabbed themselves the first kill. Now, excuse me, the way that the first 3 epic monsters does happen is even if you kill all 3 grubs, it only counts as a single camp. So you still need to be able to kill a dragon. You probably still need to be able to finish the second camp of grubs, or maybe the herald that spawns at 16. But already on their way towards getting those feats of strength, which will be a really big boost in power for the Weibo squad.
Not even 7.5 minutes. And it's not necessarily a super bloody game. We don't have, like, kill per minute, type, levels of volatility. But this is such a commanding lead for Weibo Gaming. A 1,000 gold lead, don't shy at the gold amount itself. While it is small, this is very nice in terms of momentum and how well Weibo Gaming are controlling the map.
One thing I am missing about the in-game HUD now,
what's that?
You can do this when you press tab. You can see about how much or which version of Otacon you're going to be able to get based on how much damage, because it's not just kills, right? Again, it is about how much action is happening on the map, so champion damage helps. We did just see that Harry has been really pushing Breathe under his turret, but that's to be expected with the Gnar versus Cassante matchup. And now playing for this first dragon here, Weibo have a couple of options. Breathe and Harry cannot match, they cannot teleport for this play. They're going to get level 6 onto Hung. Whether or not Weibo really want to kind of accentuate how much damage they're able to do, I don't think they have too many great items, but they have really, really impactful ultimates coming up, especially with the fact that they have Light already level 6 here. They can use the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to start for this dragon early on, but you're going to be playing against Orianna Nocturne coming into this objective. I think you can maybe even try to look towards getting more gold onto your bottom lane, utilizing these 3 grubs you have.
As we see Hung trying to see if he could contest that blue buff, but Tian smites it away. And I imagine that, as you're talking about for OMG, their ability to contest the dragon is not that great. Starry immediately forced to cleanse the arrow, walks away safely, still has a flash to play with, and that's an engagement tool gone from Weibo Gaming. Do they still want to take this chance of starting up the dragon? It might be... Well, we're going to get a hawkshot view that spot out Hung?
Wow. That's insane. I was going to say, even if it does spout out Hung, this is just such a tough spot. Now, that ward immediately does see Tian. It looks like they're going to maybe feign interest towards it, but I just don't think this is the objective for OMG. So now it's going to be the second objective here taken by Weibo. Maybe we see from the side of OMG they try to make a play after this objective is taken, but there's no level 6 here for Moham either.
Smite from TM, but there's the Paranoia Shockwave combo right onto him, but he flashes towards the wall, and then Heart breaks out to get out alive. Weibo Gaming not in any trouble at all whatsoever.
Weibo just make this look easy now. Every single play of theirs is just happening to work, and it seems like OMG, they don't have the proactivity that's really kind of going in their favor. Hung is just getting spotted out. I think right now, so far in the first 10 minutes, Tian has had a masterclass in the jungle. Despite the lane swaps that were happening, he's been able to focus resources.
Lin Feng still has a flash to work with. Xiaohu just chunking him out. Moham goes in for the Pop Blossom. Hong is taken down, but Tian is now going to look for the resets. No flash, no Heartbreaker. It's all on light to slow him down, and there's the first reset, as now he has access to another Heartbreaker if he can get in range, but Moham has already cleared distance. He will get out alive. Can't say the same about Starry.
Tian is having such a great game on this Viego, which to be expected, especially as his second most played all time in his career. Has a 73% win rate on this champion, which is absolutely ridiculous out of like almost 60 games. He is such a good player on this Viego, and he is making such good work on this map. He's making sure he's stealing camps away. He's doing well on the objectives. I think this is one of the better games we get from Tian, especially early on, and it feels bad, especially for OMG, because you're sitting there like, okay, cool, look, we have this great combo between our mid-jungle, but the information game coming in from not only Weibo's bottom lane, but from the entire squad has just been really, really exceptional.
Yeah, we see in the replay that it was an engage started by Starry and Moham trying to capitalize on Delight, but he did flash out of the Pop Blossom, which gives him the proper spacing to be able to escape and reposition for Tian coming in for the gank. As we're back to live, just under 12 minutes into the game.
Wait, they're
so
gonna get
far.
the feats. He's going to do this camp, and he's just going to get the feats of strength here. So he's going to finish this. Hung's on the opposite side of the map. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mark, but that's such a huge deal, especially with how many people have been saying, hey, look, feats of strength are way too powerful. Tian's already finished a first item from the jungle position at 11 minutes here in the game. So many resources into this jungler. I mean, he's an incredibly strong Viego now.
There it is. 2 feats of strength. Triumphant feats now available for Weibo Gaming once they complete the tier 2 boots. You already see it, the indication of the red framing on Xiaohu's Sorcerer's boots. As, you know, shout outs to the LPL broadcast. They already know, they're on top of it. They're showing you the new icons for all of the Triumphant boots. As Hung wants to challenge Tian in his own red buff. Thankfully, he's got a spell shield to be able to block that enchanted arrow, but no red buff for him, as OMG are just now scrambling for some advantage to claw their way back into this game.
All we've seen from Hung this game so far has just been, do a full clear of my camps, look out on the map, is there anything to do? No? Alright, cool, I'm hitting the recall button, which is really sad, especially for OMG. They wanted to maybe leverage their double range bottom lane, but losing Flash level 1 for Moham definitely made that a bit more difficult. And then Light and Hung have done a great job so far being able to hold these two. Now with Tian being so far ahead, like you were saying with the boots of strength, or the feats of strength for the boots, they're really strong. I think the most OP one is the Sork Pen boots. You get flat and percent magic penetration when you upgrade these boots, which is absolutely insane. Now they have 6 grubs. Weibo have complete control of the map, and I mean, the person I most feel bad for is Harry. He's playing on a winning matchup, but you're playing Gnar into Cassante, and the rest of the map is just starting to crumble around you.
Yeah, and for OMG, the pinnacle of this early mid-game strength was supposed to be the Nocturne Orianna combo, as we were, you know, trying to highlight how they were going to be able to combat a little bit of the early momentum that Tian had already leveraged for Weibo Gaming in the first few minutes of the game. The first one doesn't get anything done. They get a flash out of Tian, he escapes, no kills after that, and if there's any experience that we can allude to as, you know, playing Nocturne in our own games, if that first Paranoia doesn't get you anything, then the cooldown of waiting for the second Paranoia feels so painfully long. As now Xiaohu trying to capture Moham in this corridor here. Doesn't get a chance to put the grass right on top of him.
Okay. And one of the things we also talked about during the draft was that we had some worries whether or not this Weibo team was going to have the damage to be able to really deal with OMG. OMG have not shown that they've necessarily have that really strong first punch coming into this game. And Xiaohu's also doing pretty decently for himself. We're going to be coming into the second dragon here with a completed item, a completed Luden's companion here for Xiaohu. He also has the upgraded boots, so he does a hell of a lot of damage. And while he won't have ultimate, he is going to be able to have so much damage. And with Moham also out of the fight, this comes to a point where, are they actually just trying to cancel? They're just canceling his TP now. So he's not going to be here in time.
Well, they're sending the Paranoia mid lane, trying to look for Starry, and, you know, damn, through all the efforts, no flash available for Light, just a cleanse, and it's not enough to protect him from the 3-man dive that OMG orchestrated in the mid lane. Does give the window for Xiaohu to take out the bot tier 1 on the bottom side of the map. But for OMG, they're playing through mid-wave prio, trying to see if they can wrestle their way back into the river and contest the second dragon.
But can they actually, though? I mean, look, like, Tian's going to be here with his ultimate. You're having Aurora, who also has their ultimate. The Between Worlds is already back up 5 seconds away. You're missing out on Light, but now you can even bring the two top laners to TP. I think we're just going to have to fight for this if you're Weibo.
Yeah, Xiaohu is collapsing, already dashes right onto Starry, but Moham with the pop blossom, another
Whoa!
2 people. Hung tries to flash in to connect the shockwave, but he flashes away, it doesn't matter. Xiaohu still falls. All on Starry being able to stand up tall and deliver for OMG. Second dragon of the game goes to them as well.
Harry TP's into that play, but, I mean, look, it was all good there for Weibo. They got the kill on this Xiaohu. Xiaohu goes way too early into that fight. No one's there. You're supposed to be able to buy time for someone like Light to get back into position. Tian was nowhere near that fight, so let's take a look at this replay here. I mean, Xiaohu, look at, you're in between two players, right? Lin Feng's there, Hung is right next to you. I mean, and now we have all of this damage coming in from Starry and the rest of the squad. Great engage coming in from Moham, who has had some criticisms. You know, during his time on DK this last year, it was, you can play the rel. We know you're great on engages, but can we fine-tune that, like, looking glass for you? Can we have you find those really sweet, that great sweet spot between finding a great engage and being a good peel player for the rest of your team? And with his Nico so far, that Eye of Engage is only more accentuated.
Yeah, between the 2 pop blossom flashes that we have seen so far, it has always at least resulted in a kill. The first one, you know, we kind of look retroactively as, you know, whatever, yes, they did get hung, but Tian was there to be able to punish and, you know, bail out Light from the overall play. But that second one, super crucial for being able to reward them with momentum that was so desperately needed after the way Weibo Gaming had orchestrated their early game.
Okay. That is the dragon going down. It's a bit of a blow towards Weibo's kind of momentum in that game, but I don't think that they're too worried about it. I think you are a team that has 6 grubs. You might just be willing to give that up, especially with your AD carry dying. Just go to another lane. Pick up, maybe move in with Breathe on the top lane instead of, you know, utilizing his TP. Go up, get some of your turrets, and then be looking at the Otacon that's going to be spawning in about 4 minutes. It's on the bottom side of the map, so the further you can actually push that top lane, the better of a chance that either you're going to be fighting on Otacon and they're going to be losing out objectives on the top side of the map, or they're just going to have to match and potentially be down a member.
As you can probably tell, with the pause, there is some technical difficulty that, you know, on our side we're not aware of, so we're gonna try to get into the game as fast as possible. Hopefully for the main broadcast, as boom, you know, ask and you shall receive. Weibo Gaming, you know, second dragon doesn't go their way, but they're back up on the map, up on their feet. The Rift Herald is secured for them, and that'll be another tool that they can use and try and leverage more map control, looking at those outer turrets in both the mid lane and the top lane.
Things like, please, I don't want to have to W out of here. I would like to stay in this brush and make sure that we're able to control this. So, for the time being, what I want to see coming out from OMG is more of the same. It's take control of mid with your double range. They're able to clear the wave very quickly compared to Ashe Braum. And then make sure they're getting vision. It doesn't have to be particularly deep, but with some of the new runes that came in, you have extra health on some runes. You have the ability to see more wards and potentially take out more vision. So So I would actually like to see OMG push for getting some shallow vision into entrances of the jungle, just so they can spot out where Tien is, and more so see where the camps are and play for those so that you can kind of turbocharge more into this Nocturne. Harry already finishing the experimental Hexblade is something that they can try to look into, but with where Linfeng is, Linfeng has been kind of hung out to dry this game in the Orianna. He's getting picked out constantly,
Yeah,
and
man.
that's something you have to deal with when you're playing against Orianna and Ashe.
Yeah, I mean, the Xiaohu Aurora has been such a nuisance for Linfeng to be able to deal with, and even when they called for jungle assistance early on in the game, you saw that Xiaohu, very slippery on the champion, hard to pin down, especially when you don't have access to Shockwave for the pick. So, Linfeng just trying to do the best that he can. They have attempted to pull off the Paranoia Shockwave, It has not necessarily resulted in a kill yet for this game, but we can at least give credit over to OMG that they are executing on it when they possibly can. But as you have already alluded to, Linfeng definitely not in a huge carry position this game. He's just kind of, filling a role for the rest of the team. So far, it has been Starry and Moham that have at least found the bright spots, as this arrow...
Whoa! Do we want to talk about that?
Expecting... You know what? We can just move right along. Baron is not spawning for another 8 or 7 minutes, I should say, now that we're getting close to 18. But OMG still got some time to play before the next main objective, which is that Otacon in 2 minutes.
All right, look, the thing that Bree's about to hit, that's a Blood Rose. That's an additional amount of XP and a little bit of adaptive force right there. One of the new additions with this patch. And while we were in that replay, we didn't get to see too much of it, but Tian did actually take the Herald as well. So they have the Rift Herald, they have 6 grubs. I do want to see this team in about a minute's time. We have the Otacon spawning in about 2. Look to play through mid, get this mid-tier 1 already down for you, and then you can move on over to this objective. Take a look at the items right now. Everybody's about maybe 1.5 items, depending on where you are on the map. And for Weibo, they have those increased boots upgrades, at least the minor feats. Don't think they're going to be seeing too many upgrades as they don't have their second item quite yet. But big summoner spells, no flash here for Xiaohu. And Starry's not going to have his flash ready for this Otacon, which can be very dangerous to deal with.
Gotta keep an eye on where this arrow is flying. If he can sidestep it, then he's not forced to use the cleanse. Otherwise, once that cleanse is gone, he doesn't really have any tools to protect him. And with Moham going on this Nico and going for the Proto Belt first finish, there's not going to be a Mikhails to give him that extra cleanse ability to deal with any incoming CC. As Rift Herald charges into the mid-tier 1, they take it out. There won't be a subsequent charge going on for them. But they might try to look for the collapse in the Linfeng, but the arrow sails wide.
If Linfeng had stayed a little bit longer, maybe about a second or 2, we would have seen all of Weibo move on over to try to get those kills. Not going to be the case. It's going to be them now missing an Ashe ultimate 30 seconds before the Otacon spawns. I want to see what kind of Otacon it is, because this was a game that didn't have too much kills, but I imagine with the double ranged and again Harry spawning, or Harry playing this Gnar versus Cassante, there was a lot of damage. I wonder if this is going to be the Voracious one. This might be one of our first Voracious we get to see throughout the season.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I had a game where there's like 12 kills apiece on both teams, and we still got a Voracious Otacon. So my money's...
Oh, it is Voracious. Hey!
Yep. So, by the way, Voracious Otacon is a red hue. The Ruinous is more of a dark gray hue.
Yep.
So
what Voracious gives for the team that ends up killing the Voracious Otacon, it's going to be a permanent 40 gold increase to every takedown on the champion. So just every takedown, just add another 40 gold for the rest of the game, and you get that one-time stasis GA. So if you do die, you're going to go into stasis, you're going to get recalled back to base, and the enemy opponent is going to get 100 gold and about 1 blood petal. So they're going to be able to get a little bit of experience and a little bit of adaptive force, but really kind of nullifying that. Now with the summoner spells back up, if they're able to grab this Otacon, any summoner spell, specifically any flash that wasn't used in that last fight, I just expect for the winning team to immediately be looking for another engage onto that player. Now Xiaohu walks forward, has to use the flash immediately coming into this fight.
Big from Starry. Good Chain of Corruptions look. It forces the Summoner Spell out of Xiaohu, but now Weibo Gaming trying to press forward for control in the river. Breathe, the main person taking up space for the side of Weibo Gaming as the rest of OMG trying to wait in the brush, but the arrow connects right on top.
There's Moham
with the counter engage. It stops them in their tracks. There goes Hung into the backline, trying to link his claws right down on Light, but Light is able to stand tall and deliver with the arrows, and the rest of the engage from OMG falls to its ground, and Weibo Gaming able to take out 3. They only lose Hung in the fight, but this is 2 objectives surely going over to Weibo.
It didn't even matter that Xiaohu got caught early. They weren't able to get that much damage. Hung and Linfeng did not find the engage onto Light, and that means it's going to be the Dragon here for Weibo. Now we can take a look at this replay. So what exactly happened? So Harry doesn't tank it up. Harry's not even Mega Gnar yet, and this is a great job from Breathe to immediately stop the knockup, but yeah, the damage just isn't quite there, and look at where the rest of the members of OMG are. It's going to be both Xiaohu and Breathe applying DPS onto Linfeng and Starry. It was a great engage, I think, from the rest of the team, but the damage dealers just weren't there, and Harry didn't have Mega Gnar quite ready to go, so they had to make a snap engage off of Light's ultimate, and that's going to turn into a pretty big win here for Weibo. Not starting up the Otacon, instead grabbing the second dragon. They're going to continue to play the rest of the map. Typically, I've been seeing a lot of focus towards this Otacon, especially because it is the new kind of the big new hotness on the Rift, but they just want to really power farm a lot of gold onto players like Xiaohu and Tian by going for this tier 1, utilizing those 6 scrubs.
And honestly, Dimitri, I think this just goes to show that Weibo Gaming have put in their fair share of trying to take down the Otacon in their scrim games, because this objective is deceptively hard and long to take down. So the fact that they actually went for the dragon first, they decided, hey, we don't actually have enough time to take this objective off the map. Let's just reset. There's no way that OMG, down the amount of gold and items that they are compared to us, are going to try and start it while we're still on the map and strong. They've taken full control of that top side, and now they're resetting their vision line back towards the bottom side, where it is so much easier to take that objective.
I mean, Linfeng doesn't have flash, Hung doesn't have flash either. It's so hard to find and engage, and one of the feats of strength that we were talking about, the magic penetration boots are able to grab for yourself for Xiaohu. He now has like 18 flat magic pen and 10% magic penetration. This is absolutely insane. Xiaohu does a lot of damage, especially with the Storm Surge. It seems like OMG, they're going to try and fight after the Otacon, but they're going to already have the GA here for the side of Weibo.
Oh, they got a ward down, but Tian secures it. Hung goes into the backline, tries to look for Tian, but the GA pops from the Otacon objective. Moham
Can they
falls
win
to
this?
Xiaohu with the Between Worlds. OMG are still fishing. Maybe they can get Harry into the backline. Great use of the weirding to slow them down. Harry doesn't get a chance to lock down any further players as Breathe brings him in with the all-out, but Harry's in trouble as Light is pouring arrows right into the other backline, and Breathe is still alive, and he's going to force the issue. They've got the temporary GAs. It allows them to continue fighting, and Xiaohu's back on the map thanks to the teleport. He rejoins the fight. Tian is there as well. The Heartbreaker splits up Linfeng and Harry, as now Harry has nowhere else to go. Tian picks it up, and Dimitri, I think this is pretty much game for Weibo Gaming. Otacon secured, 6 scrubs secured. Weibo Gaming 4,000 gold ahead. OMG, they are cooked.
That's it. I mean, they got the GA, and I was like, okay, that's great. You're able to grab the GA for yourselves. You know, you're having a numbers advantage, but I mean, the gold doesn't say all that much. It's about 5,000. It's going to be a lot more with all these turrets that are going to start to fall, but the feats of strength definitely start to add on. The experience differentials are going to continue to climb as we look at some of these blood roses. Doesn't seem like too many have been picked up, at least not by the side of Weibo. They only have 15, which, give or take, it does change how much experience it gives based on who picked it up. It's increased if you have a kind of bad KDA or not, but yeah, that was such a great fight coming in from Weibo, especially the fact that they're able to GA, teleport back into the play at the back end of it, and only just barely able to get as much pressure out of it. We get to see the replay here. I mean, they're just too late. So the GA's proc now, Hung's here, but when you kill these players when they have this Otacon GA, it's only 100 gold. So you're not even getting all that much in terms of resources, and they didn't spend too many in terms of their summoner spells either, so this is just a really good answer coming in from Weibo, and OMG just being late to the punch yet again.
And what a beautiful just positioning from Light and Breathe, playing around that Tri-Bush choke point, and it's
Don't
so
look
hard
at Tian,
for...
please.
I'm not looking. Hey, you know what? I'm not looking. It's okay. I'm going to continue talking about the
Keep going.
2v4 essentially that Breathe and Light pulled off. Just being able to play that choke point, the fact that they cannot actually push through the volley of arrows since their health bars were so low. Harry thinking that this is, you know, a good push that they can make for it, but, you know, Weibo Gaming being able to just overcome it all. And a Grave Siege push on the top side nets them the first inhibitor of the game. Harry does get a chance to push on the bottom side and take this tier 2, but it only feels like a consolation prize in the back half.
It's going to be a little bit of gold. Maybe we can finish a third item on, you know, maybe someone like Lin Feng coming into this next fight. This is a pretty tough game to watch here now if you are an OMG fan. For Weibo, however, they're making moves. They get the flash out from Moham again. So no flash Nico ult. We haven't seen that synergy really between him and Hung. While on the opposite side, Weibo, I think that the carries have really kind of stepped it up, especially for someone like Tian and Light. Light is someone who has, again, been super consistent for many, many years, and with a new jungler in Tian, it seems like it's kind of all coming together at the right moments. It is very early on. Again, this is our first game of the LPL season, but we got to see this Weibo roster play in the Demacia Cup, and they didn't quite make it to finals. They got all the way to semifinals. They were slotted in immediately, so they're always going to make top 8 because of the way that the bracket kind of shook out. But, oh, Star's just dead. Okay.
Yep. As you called it out, Between Worlds locks him down, and Hung absorbed the arrow with the spell shield. But that is a marksman gone from the side of OMG, making an effective 5v4 for Weibo Gaming. They're making this siege happen in the mid lane and constantly chunking out members that they can get their eyes on, as Hung has complete freedom to just start walking around the OMG jungle by himself, tanking enough on this Brong, and, you know, and going back to the conversation about, you know, Light just being this super consistent carry that hasn't really gotten the shine. This is not only a new jungler, as you already pointed out with Tian, but it's also a new support. And Hong is someone that we saw from the LNG days, you know, being remarkably aggressive, always having a very, you know, forward mindset of trying to initiate and look for plays. You know, Braum isn't necessarily a support champion that stands out in that play style, but you're already seeing the pieces come together between him, Light, and Tian.
It's great. It's great to see this Weibo roster, especially as a huge Light fan. Maybe we can kind of show the graphic later on in the show, but I love Light. He's been criminally underrated. Kelsey Moser, you can't say anything in response because you're not on the show, so I get to control the narrative. Light's been great. He's been shown up at some international events, but ever since he was originally on those LNG days, he's been someone that has really started to climb the ranks of really top-level 80 carries here in the region. So excited to what he can do with another year on Weibo, especially for, remember, we are keeping a majority of the pieces, Breathe, Xiaohu, and Light, just changing out the jungle and support. And we'll see what this roster is able to do as the year goes on. It's a team that we are looking to be a top 3, top 4 contender.
And right now, Weibo Gaming are trying to put the finishing touches on this game. We've reached past the 25-minute mark, which is when Baron now spawns, as we have mentioned during the pre-draft of this game. Doesn't look like Weibo Gaming are actually committing to the Baron. They're just trying to look for a pick. Moham, good night. Hong does look for Light in the background, and he finds a trade kill back. But Harry could be next as Breathe now tries to jump forward, trying to create space. But the only carry left is Tian and Xiaohu, and Tian is low. They can play for Viego resets, but it's going to have to be on Breathe and Hong to make that space happen. And with Xiaohu already limited on the burst damage with no ulti available, this is OMG's map to play for right now.
All right, that looked pretty sus there for a second, but OMG are able to fight back. This is some of the compositional strengths that we highlighted during the draft, but obviously the game has not really gone their way, and if Harry was able to get onto that objective, or maybe into that fight a little bit sooner, maybe have a bit of a better time as this Gnar, I think there's an angle there for OMG to really start to take over in that fight, but Weibo, they're able to kind of keep him out from the fight. I want to see exactly what was happening here. So this starts with just an Ashe ultimate. It segments off Moham from the rest of the team. Okay, so Harry just wasn't in the area. He has to wait for the TP to get all the way over there. Then he has to build his Mega Gnar, so he's just never in a spot. I'm going to say, Mark, despite it looking good, there is a lot of big flashes gone now. Like, Starry flashed over the wall, over the Raptor pit, and they didn't get much after that. So now you're going to be playing as a Varus with no flash versus Xiaohu, Light. This is just easy pickings now going forward.
I will say, even though I did say that it was cooked for OMG, I'll play devil's advocate right now. There's no flash from Light. There's no flash from Hong. There's no flash from Xiaohu. So a lot of these carries that are pretty squishy are now open for someone like Hong's Nocturne to actually just jump on. And we already saw that even though everyone from Weibo Gaming dogpiled on the Moham, Light was left all alone in the darkness and couldn't fend for himself against the Nocturne. So I still think Weibo Gaming should win the game from this point forward. However, there is a way, but it's going to have to take a lot from OMG to dig deep down and lock the frick in Dimitri if that were to happen.
Guys, my co-caster is literally trying to get brownie points from the Weibo social media guy. I can't throw. What am I supposed to do here? Guys, it should be Weibo's win. I mean, it should be. Like OMG don't even have a Twitter account, okay? So we can't even farm
Arrow?
them for impressions. Oh, and Arrow.
Feels
Misses.
cool.
I gotta make sure. Yo, check in on Choco. Maybe he got hit by that. We've got Dragon spawning, or ready. Should be up. Although the indicator on the map says it should be up in 45, the indicator in the top right tells me their HUD might be broke. So, Dragon being a thing that can turn into a soul here for Weibo if they take this one. They're missing the Ash ultimate, but you just have to go here if you're OMG. There's no point. We're not going to be able to get level 16 on Hung, but we do have level 16 on Lin Feng. Dragon's already basically done now. They can't get in range.
Yeah, and it's in fog. Xiaohu just pops the ulti just to make sure that OMG cannot get through that choke point. Effective tool to deny any contest, and that is Mountain Soul secure for Weibo Gaming. This should be their fight to win. Harry is split off completely from the rest of the team. He's about to go Mega. There is complete darkness. The Paranoid Shockwave misses as Light is able to distance himself away. Big Gnar ultimate from Harry, but it's not doing much as it's trying to create an escape. A possibility for OMG, but Starry might be run down here. Still no flash. The winner's bite connects, and here comes Xiaohu. Looks for the weird. Good night, Starry. Talk about some damage from that Stormbringer. My goodness. Weibo Gaming, 33 minutes in, 13 kills and 5. I mean, this Baron should be theirs for the taking. Hung still up on the table, but no paranoia, no flash. I don't think he's going to get into this pit.
It's so difficult to fight. They have a Mountain Soul now. You even have Bloodthirster coming in here for Light. If the two tanks here for Weibo decide to pick up their boot enchantments, they're going to get max HP shields based on the boots they got. I just think there's too much damage or too much tankiness coming in from Weibo, and we get to see here Storm Surge plus Ludens plus the feats of strength upgraded boots for the Aurora. There's just nothing you can really do. This the champion's good, but the items are much better. The items are absolutely disgusting here now. So Barret here for Weibo. There's going to be them putting the finishing touches. They've got 6 grubs as well, so with that Baron buff, I just expect for them to just run down any lane they want and try to end this game. This game has gone on a bit longer than I would have actually preferred, just for the matter of, like, OMG. They should have lost this game, but they have so many robust tools in their kit that allow them to kind of do kind of fights like we've seen. But
sure. And then credit to them where it counted. There was a couple times when Weibo Gaming played the engage a little too fast, right? We talk about that second dragon fight where, hang on.
Here we go.
Conversation is now as Light forced to pop the stasis, tries to flash backwards. Moham follows up, closing the distance with that Protobelt, and Hung tries to flash on top just to stay in range. But there's too many people protecting Light. As he's going to send an arrow downtown. That might wet. That arrow's going to hit your fridge, Dimitri. Just watch out. Just stand to the side. Shockwave. It doesn't matter to breathe as he is unmovable in that W, and Harry tries to throw them all into their Nexus, but there's nothing else to be done for the side of OMG. Harry, the last man standing, is not going to be able to withstand this siege coming in from Weibo Gaming, and this is game 1 going over to them.
Oh my god, Weibo is literally diving them with Nexus turrets not even available to be hit. All the inhibitors were still up while Weibo are diving them. That's going to be game 1 taken here by Weibo. Not to be unexpected, but for OMG, I think it's back to the drawing board here in this best of 5. And look, we're in a full Fearless. We're going to get more champions taken out from this series as we go further into it. But yeah, that's good. That's correct. I do, in fact, love Light. He deserves MVP for this game. He won the level 1. I'm trying to line up with the picture. All right, it's gone. But he got the level 1 flash out from Moham. He did a fantastic job this game. If it's not going to be him, then I really do expect that some of the people on the Chinese broadcast are going to be looking towards Tian or Xiaohu.
Yeah.
Xiaohu had too many really explosive moments, but I think overall his game was tame in consideration.
Yeah, the early game orchestrated by Tian, you know, pretty much resulted in full weak side from Moham and Starry being completely disconnected from Hung for the first 4.5 minutes of the game. And even though that we talked so much about, oh, this is a Nico Varus double range bot lane, they should have control, they should have agency in this lane. The level 1 invade screws over Moham with his flash, and then the gank early on takes a cleanse out, and suddenly your priority and your ability to play up in that lane no longer exists. So, and then just the rest of the snowball started happening for Tian.
Yeah, and so for everybody at home, we do have the full Fearless here. As you can take a look at the, I wonder what the Chinese broadcasts are going to try and break down here on their telestrator. Bring it home. Bring it home. I was going to say, those 10 champions that we just saw being played are no longer going to be available.
Yep.
I wonder what the priority is going to be. OMG will have side select. I expect to see them on blue side. But Rumble being a ban from Weibo, I think is really interesting. And if the game keeps going in the way that we expect, where Weibo, I'll be straight up, I do have Weibo taking a 3-0 this time. And if that's going to be the case, Weibo is always going to end up on red side, which means Rumble is going to continue to stay banned. So it's going to be a champion that we're not really going to be able to see from them. And then maybe Skarner gets through. You also have to think of like Victor, a champion that really fell off after the group stage, because people realized that while Victor does have a very busted kit, he's still Victor, unfortunately.
He still takes a while to crank up to that late game power. It is what it is, and especially where the fact that we are in such a snowballing meta, you know, it doesn't really speak to how volatile this new season does feel like with the way that this first game played. It was fairly tame in the first, 10 minutes of the game. I think we only had four or five-ish kills total by that mark. I think it was like around 3-1 during that time. I was expecting people to be throwing hands. I thought we were gonna get like, 5 kills apiece by 10 minutes into the game, like 1 kill per minute. But, for the most part, once Weibo Gaming had control, OMG played it fairly standard, really trying to wait on their ult spikes and trying to, play the objectives fairly calculated. Unfortunately, it just didn't go their way.
All right, maybe Xiaohu does deserve MVP. Those numbers are insane. He had like 45% of his team's damage. He has like the most damage by far in the game by like a pretty large margin. Him and Tian were putting in work this game. All right, look, I'm going to be the first one to always defend Xiaohu just because of his legacy as a top-level mid laner, one of the best players in general to ever play League of Legends, especially for the LPL. But the last couple of years have not been kind to him. He's had a bit of a softer splits coming in. He's always been known as kind of a spring tiger, as having to kind of carry a lot of those older RNG rosters, thanks to Uzi taking up until Lunar New Year off. But he's, at least in this game, and so far in this Weibo team, I think he's had a little bit of a better time. I want to see what that looks like with an entire split behind him, however.
Yeah, just rolling through the montage of that first game. Other than that second Dragon fight, it really was just Weibo Gaming all day, every day. Just the way that they were able to navigate through the darkness of the paranoia that OMG brought with that Nocturne pick. I mean, it just seemed like it didn't even affect them at all. They were not deterred that much whatsoever. And you get to see, once again, the effects of the GA, thanks to killing the voracious Otacon, come into effect.
I'll just also say that I think OMG played this game not particularly well, if I'm being nice. They were never really on the same page. When we saw them actually start engages, it felt a lot of the time that either they weren't in sync or they were just not necessarily it wasn't on their terms. There were a couple of engages that we got to saw during that fight where it was, hey, there is suddenly this Ashe ultimate that's coming at me. Moham, send your ultimate, then we'll try to find the re-engage on the light, when we didn't get to see Harry in a great position. Like, this is one of them. Moham's ulting, no one's really in position. Now is when we get Hung to kind of get into this backline. This is one of the better fights here for OMG, but imagine all of them had been coordinated. You have the long range of Varus, you have Orianna with that amount of damage, you have the Harry who on this Gnar should be able to come over top and get big knockups. That just wasn't the case here for OMG, so regardless of what composition they play in the next game, a question of their synergy is really going to have to come to play once we get further in the series.
Yeah. I mean, we have to remind ourselves that, you know, this roster from OMG, you know, fairly developmental. Obviously, you know, Harry and Hung coming from other teams in the LPL to this roster, you know, within the last 6 months. But for, you know, Linfeng and Starry, these guys were brought up in the OMG secondary team. And now this is their chance to, you know, try and start building their professional career, at least tier 1 wise, for the LPL. And, you know, when we think back to, for anyone that was watching the LPL in the summer, Linfeng did get a chance to, you know, substitute in for some games while Angel was the main player for OMG during the time being. You know, unfortunately for Linfeng, he had to go up against some of the toughest mid laners in the LPL with, I think there's a series against LNG, for example, having to play against Scout. I mean, that is a tough order to stand up to. And to his credit, they got one game off the Hui against Scout's Azir, you know, but, you know, there's going to be a lot more reps in store for Linfeng that he's going to have to really muscle through over this split.
That'll be really interesting. We get to see Xiaohu as the MVP, rightfully so. You know, I'll take back my discrediting. 47% of his team's damage.
Sheesh.
Dude, putting up numbers on the board. That's what I want to see from one of the most legendary players to ever touch League of Legends as a whole. Aurora Champion looking quite balanced, but also did get the upgraded boots pretty early on. I think Mages kind of got some bite back in the game. Ooh, the MVP
what is
highlights.
This?
We even get the Aurora skin as well. I might be a little distracted.
Can we clip this?
Well, the Aurora highlight is gone now, so I blacked out for a second.
The important part of the highlight is gone, unfortunately, for Dimitri's eyes, is basically what we're getting at. But yeah, that's cool. No, you were mentioning it. The fact that your upgraded boots gives you both an additional flat M pen as well as percentage penetration. My goodness, like your burst capabilities on any squishy target that has no magic resist whatsoever. I mean, good luck surviving it. You see pairing with items like the Storm Surge, which has a ton of M pen built into the build path, and man, I mean, if you could have like the absolute, you know, magic pen dream of having like Storm Surge, Shadow Flame, fully upgraded boots as well, I mean, you're essentially doing true damage to any squishy that has no MR into their kit.
We needed it. I say we, as someone who's a 80 carry player, and I like to play mages. Mages are notoriously, like, for such a long time, we just never had magic penetration. Lost Chapter was one of the worst items in the game, thanks to Noon Quiver. That got nerfed. We had 1100 Lost Chapter. I was so excited. Then it got nerfed to 1200. I was kind of sad, but it was fine. Like, we needed it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of... I'm glad mages are feeling more and more empowered, especially with not only the game kind of being tweaked, but also things like teleport and the like being kind of tapered down a little bit in terms of their power.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had that much M-Pen in the game since, like, the early days of when Haunting Guys used to give M-Pen. And, you know, you would get, like, up to, like, you know, 30 M-Pen super early into the game for the price of, like, what, 2,800 gold, which, you know, kind of the comparable price to a full legendary item. But before we close it out and start getting ready for the second game, I just want you all to know, so you may be aware this is an entirely fan-run broadcast produced by passionate individuals who love the LPL. As such, we started a Ko-Fi account that you can access and chat. Any donations there will go directly to broadcast upgrades or paying on-air talent and production staff by becoming Ko-Fi members. You can also unlock some perks like access to member-only servers, early access to unique content and interviews, and the ability to suggest questions and collaborate. So, you know, join today, whatever you can.
You can also sub on Twitch and YouTube. They will have similar levels of collaboration. So depending on how much you want to be able to give us, any amount helps, especially for the people that help running this broadcast. And again, none of this is possible without viewers like yourself watching. So even if you can't donate, any kind of ability to share what we're doing here on the broadcast really helps.
Yeah, everything means the world to all of us here on the LPL English broadcast. With that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Game 2 draft will be on your screen. Welcome back, y'all. We got game 2 coming up in just a few moments. Just to recap some things, Weibo Gaming did obviously take the first game of the series. This is a best of 5, so first to 3 wins will net them, 1 group point and put either Weibo Gaming or OMG further into their chances out of advancing on into that bracket stage. Only 2 seeds can advance from each group, and with this being a fearless series, and this will be every series for the entire split, that means the 10 champions we just saw from game 1, so all gone. Ashe, Varus, Braum, Nico, Nocturne, Viego, Cassante, Gnar, Aurora, and Orianna. Everything that was banned can still be playable.
I can't believe you left my girl Aurora like that all the way to the end. She deserves to be first girl. It's okay.
Well,
it happens.
You know what?
You live.
It
happens.
Do you know where I live? I moved recently. I don't know if you know my address anymore.
If anybody wants to go to Salt Lakes,
relax. We're not doxing you live. Hang on. This guy was about to be Nightbolt right now. My goodness.
Happens. It's okay. Guys, if you support enough on Ko-fi, you can get Rafa's address.
No, that's not.
So moving on into game 2,
that is
like
not
we
a
were
reward
talking about before we
on.
got through.
Don't listen to him,
before
Chad.
we were ending, we did have, like you were saying, the full fearless. We want to see I want to see anyway, where Rumble and Skarner are going to end up. These are two of the most important champions when we saw it in Demacia Cup. They were champions that at the very beginning of groups, everyone was like, okay, we'll give away some Skarner and Rumble games just kind of see, because Rumble did get nerfed, but it just doesn't seem like that's really kind of been that effective. And with how many great top laners we have, and especially in a full Fearless system, there are some champions that you can kind of get away with. And for OMG, the Rumble's also a flex. We actually got to see during the Demacia Cup that Hung did play it in the jungle to a victory.
Yeah.
It was a very good game, so
Pretty
gotta always be kind of worried about that.
Yeah. And I imagine that if OMG gets side select since they lost the first game, they will try and opt for blue side, I imagine, which then puts the precedence on Weibo Gaming to ban the Rumble away on red side, which is kind of what we expect things to shift towards. Now, some of the bans to remember from the first game, as we talked about, Rumble and Skarner, there was also a Vi ban, a Callista ban, two other champions that escape the life of me from the blue side that I guess I would have to go back and double check. I remember the two support bans in the second round, which was like
It was Rakan
Rel, and then two jungle bans from OMG with the Wukong and the Xin Zhao.
And yeah, there we go. Yep.
Xin Zhao, yeah.
I don't know. I think that when we talk about engaged supports, Braum already being gone is going to kind of open up stuff like the Nautilus, stuff like the Rakan again, especially as we get further on into the series. And we'll see what the side select is. That's the big thing for me when we come into these series, is kind of seeing which team's priorities are where. It seems like OMG going for the blue side this time around, and you can see at the bottom of the graphic there, those champions that were taken in Game 1 no longer available. Now Weibo, red side, for the most part, at least from Demacia Cup, was Callista, Skarner, Rumble. Every game almost, barring some exceptions. So, don't know if we'll see something different coming out from Weibo this time, but OMG taking away a Caitlyn, something we did also get to see from Light and Hung earlier on in their semifinals in Demacia Cup.
OMG really taking their time with this last ban before we get into the first couple picks of this draft phase. And it's an early Xin Zhao ban as well. So not waiting until the second round of bans. Just trying to take away some fighter options from Tien. Now we know that no Viego will be available for the rest of the series, and no Vi and no Xin either. So I wonder then, if Tien wants to look for a fighter jungler, he could try and grab the Wukong in this first round, or he could always go back to something like the reliable Lee Sin that he's been known for over the years. Rumble's open, Dimitri.
Oh, so do they have something prepared for it? Yeah, it's the slam coming in from OMG. Now, for everybody at home, this can be a flex for either Harry or Hung. We'll have to see what that looks like. And for Weibo, we came into Game 1. They came in on the blue side. They banned the Rumble, something that we didn't expect coming into the series today. Now they're going to have to finally play against it. What are their options here? They're going for the Jace immediately. Now, this can be a mid-lane Jace. Xiaohu's Jace is legendary throughout the LPL, but I mean, if this is also going to be Flandra's tank Jace top lane, that is one way you can try to mitigate around the laning phase.
Yeah, if you haven't seen yet, you know, in your solo queue games, you know, just be grateful, because that thing, I don't know why it works, but it works, and it's super oppressive to play against. And you can blame Flandra for kind of sparking that, since now it seems like almost every top laner is now trying to play the tank Jace build. But as we continue through the picks and bans, we saw Light securing this misfortune. It's answered by Starry's Jhin, and we get the Rel for Moham secured this time in the first round.
I'm going to give a hint for everybody at home as to why tank Jace is broken. Tank items are OP. I don't know if anybody actually heard me with the noise gate.
You know, that kind of reminds me. Yeah, that reminds me of Season 6 days when Iceborne Gauntlet and Grasp of the Undying was a broken combo, and like called out, Wukong secured in the first round for Tien.
All right, so we're getting a team composition here for Weibo that has a lot of poke with Misfortune and this Jace. We're kind of looking at them to play at pretty long range, but if this is actually going to be that tank Jace, he is mostly there to Obviously, he provides movement speed. He still has some pretty decent base damages, and it's all about getting in a massive amount of ability haste as well, especially with something like the Fimbulwinter. So, going to be interested to see what we get from Breathe in that lane. As we get into the back end of these drafts, Weibo are in a tough spot because they don't know where this Rumble is going. We're going to be seeing more and more focus towards some of these solo laners, and I wonder if we're going to see any more mages taken away, as if you look at Lin Feng, he played a lot of Corki during his time in Demacia Cup, but for the most part, when we saw him either in LDL or playing in a little bit in LPL, it was mostly those mages, the Nico, the Hui, the Karma as well, things like that.
Yeah. I wonder if OMG will also ban the Alistar away from Hong, just considering you're trying to get rid of any supports that can deny a Rel engage or just make a Rel's life completely miserable, stifling them on the entrance with the crash down. Couple more seconds here. If the Alistar is taken away, then Hong can still go for something like the Rakan to set up engage, because right now you have, as you called out, you know, if this Jace is not tank and it's just traditional Jace, you have a pretty nice wombo setup between Cyclone and now this Rakan that is secured for Hong to set up for that bullet time. But if you're not able to connect those conjunction of ultimates together, you are fairly low damage into this OMG roster.
Yeah. Maokai here, probably going to be for Hung. If this is picked up, this also could be Maokai top lane. Kind of waiting to see what the final pick here is.
True.
Mostly kind of waiting on someone like Lin Feng to pick his mid lane champion. Now, like you were saying, the damage profile for this team can be quite low. Yasuo would be absolutely cracked. Lin Feng has not really shied away from AD mid laners. We got to see him pick up the Mbessa. His most played throughout his career, one of them is Yasuo, at least in the top 5. Seems like instead they might want to pick up a champion that has been released in the last year. So that obviously means that their power level is that much higher.
This is neat. All right. I mean, I'll say that I didn't get a chance to witness in person or live Lin Feng's Mbessa, but, you know, just knowing most of his champion performances with control mages, this is quite exciting to see him try and match up against, you know, what essentially was, you know, a blind pick into Xiaohu, and he is going with the Victor as the answer. And because, as you already called out, this Rumble and Maokai can be flexed around, I guess it just depends on what they feel like is the most optimal matchup for the top side of the map. But it doesn't seem like there's going to be a change. So this will be Maokai going in the jungle for Hung.
Okay. I mean, only fair. I think in the jungle can be a little bit difficult. You can maybe attest and call me an idiot if I'm wrong, but into Wukong, you can kind of skirmish early. The level 6 gets a little wary depending on where you get caught out with enemy team for a Rumble, but I know he has a lot of skirmishing power, especially with his passive alone.
I think the other thing to consider too is just that jungle is most of the time seen as a low econ role. I mean, obviously, if you get a lot of kills and snowballs going your way, and if you start, you know, allocating some side lane farm to your jungle, you can make it work. But, you know, Hung just, you know, accepting, hey, I'm going to be the role player for the team. We need secondary engage alongside our Rel to make sure that, you know, they're not the only one trying to set up these plays. So, you know, Maokai always will be a useful champion. That Nature's Grasp, such a powerful tool to either disengage or set up fights from long range, and you can just kind of fish and try and see if you can burn some summoner spells without having to overcommit. And it does set up for a lot of these other tools like the Mbessa engage, the Rumble equalizer, the curtain call from the Jhin as well. So, you know, once again, Dimitri, OMG have good tools to make fights happen. It just comes down to execution.
Mark, did you like Mbessa from Arcane?
You know, in what perspective, Dimitri?
Did you like Mbessa? That's the only thing I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I liked Mbessa as a character. I think she was very, you know, dynamic and, you know,
Do you remember one of the first times we saw Mbessa in the show in season 1? She's getting fed grapes with a beautiful young man.
Yeah.
Who is across from her in the lane?
It was Jace.
No, it was not Jace, but also...
Oh, was it actually Victor?
no, I'm saying there's a Victor across from her in the lane. And there's a Jace on the same team. We've got lovers duo here. I don't even care. Look, Rakan standing there like, where's my wife? Jace is like, let's go! We're on the same team! I love you, Victor! For all the J-Vic fans in the crowd, I'm with you on this one. But
the J-Vic shippers are winning this one.
That's what I like to hear. Look, they're on the same team. If they lose together. I'm just sad we didn't get to see Xayah. If we're going to have one lovers duo, we might as well get the other one. Especially if we're going to have Rakan by himself, sitting with Misfortune. We're getting a lane swap, though, so say goodbye to all the Rumble top players. One of the reasons that, when you're playing carry tops, you got to be a little careful here. Is you're just always going to be wondering, am I getting lane swapped on? And that's going to be the case. We'll see if OMG are actually able to get much done. It is also first strike here for Maokai, immediately getting spotted. Tian has to just move off of his Gromp. And are they going to be able to make a dive? It's level 2 Maokai, and he doesn't have his nature's or his twisting advance quite yet, so he'll get it off of this Gromp, but I think the timing is just not there.
Yeah, he's actually skipping the Gromp. They're just going to start off the dive right now. Who's going to start up? Breathe dodges the crash down. Makes them look a little bit silly. The Ignite is ticking down, but Moham is trying to take up the turn shots. No! First blood of the first feat of strength goes over to
There it is. GG.
It's disaster for OMG. Weibo Gaming making them look silly.
Just wrap it up, bro. Just wrap this game up already.
Oh, no, man.
Like, Tian, by the Gromp resetting, Hung does not have enough time to actually make any moves. He got spotted so early on, and he just doesn't have the twisting advance. So early on, we knew that play should not go well. Now Hung is going to be looking, maybe tries to trade the flash. It's just such a good spot here for Breathe early on. And what a fantastic dive being played by Breathe by himself.
That's just one of those moments where you kind of look back and be like, oh, thank God this is a script, right? We can just reset. We played that wrong. Oh no, this is an actual game.
Well, considering they already played game 1, I don't think they know. I think we're past the scrim allegations here.
They might have forgotten. They might have had what is it? Object permanent.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? So we already came into this fight saying, look, he doesn't have twisted advance. I think it's already questionable. As soon as Hung comes up against the wall and we see that Breathe is there, he needs to be hitting the Bramble Smash, and then immediately we can see Moham going for the Rel engage. But that just doesn't happen. So 2 kills immediately. It's some summoner spells being earned here by Weibo. And now with this teleport back in, they've now utilized the fact that they've gotten that the first feat. They can play for Dragon if they really want to. And Linfeng walks forward, uses the Drake Hound steps. Great use of the passive there coming in from Linfeng. Just barely is able to get out. Still has teleport.
Dimitri, if I'm on OMG's side and I'm Hung and we just had to recover from that dive, and if I want to keep spirits light, I can say, hey, Wukong no flash, and he didn't get an assist because he technically died to the last auto attack from Breathe before Tian actually closed the distance with the flash Nimbus strike. So I'm just saying, if you want to keep things positive in the group chat right now for OMGs, like, hey man, we burn a lot of summoners.
That would not be you, bro. That is not you in the group chat. You are saying, well, game's looking kind of cooked. I'm the one that has to say, look, he did get an assist. I'm just saying. He did get local experience, but we'll see if OMG can kind of bounce back from this kind of early setback. And depending on what kind of build he goes for, he's also going to be missing out on tankiness. So this might be a situation where kind of all of the individual circumstances all snowball into one big mistake, as now Hung, he's going to have first strike, right? He doesn't have like an aftershock or something like a grasp or any of these tankier runes that give him some sustainability. He's kind of focused on getting some damage, really trying to cheat econ early on to get some items early and just a little bit more damage, going for that AP build. So in terms of who's going to be frontlining for this OMG team, I think instead of kind of thinking of it as trying to play front to back, they have a lot of ways of bypassing frontline traditionally. You have the ultimate coming in, the public execution from Mbessa that just skips all of your frontline, goes straight to the back line. You have someone like this ultimate from Starry, Hung as well, Harry with his ult. So many ways for them to be able to skip out on kind of dealing with some of this tanks, but they have to have the damage. Otherwise, it does not matter at all.
Yeah. So the question then comes down to how well can OMG you know, stop the gold disparity from growing further and further into the game. You know, they can't take back what happened on that bottom side of the map. They just now have to, you know, try and farm their way through the next few minutes and try to play to their comp strength, as Moham is actually going to force this engage on to Breathe, but he's super deep, and no one from OMG can really follow up, so now that just felt like a waste of time, and the rest of OMG now just scatterbrained as they're all going in one by one. I mean, Linfeng now tries to send it on the public execution, but can't really commit to the play, and the rest of Weibo Gaming are just, you know, scratching their heads going, I mean, what are OMG trying to accomplish here?
It's a freebie. That's just a straight up freebie coming in from OMG. Man, it's sad to see. I thought maybe we'd get some signs of life from OMG, but we're getting more of the same coming in. Individual players kind of going in at different times, not really kind of coordinating a lot of the engage coming in. And Weibo are just able to punish, and they have a team composition that's going to scale incredibly well. Again, we were talking about JVic earlier. Victor is going to continue to get those Victor bucks, continue to get more upgrades for his items. Breathe is going to get more tank stats, so if you're imagining, like, we're already falling behind in damage and now this guy's actually literally unkillable in the 1v1, it doesn't get much better here for this OMG roster. They still have a lot of ways to kind of play for this game. The feats of strength are still up and available if they're able to grab the first turret and the next 3 epic monsters. Maybe that's a way that they can play, but it's just going from bad to worse, and kind of feels like all of these things are starting to snowball for this team.
Yeah, I mean, you already pointed out that, like, OMG don't necessarily have to play front to back with the composition that they have. I mean, when you get to a point when you can start throwing these saplings and chunking out Weibo Gaming members with the power of Leandries and saplings, you control a lot of space in the map here for these objective setups. You can try and then capitalize with Deadly Flourish and just continue poking them out, and if anyone ever steps too far forward in a narrow choke point corridor, you send it on the equalizer, right? But OMG are, especially in a Grubs play, like you said, they just all kind of sent it one by one, and there maybe just seems to be a strong disconnect in how OMG are communicating how we want to play this game, you know, and maybe this is just, you know, this is what happens when you're trying to put a new roster together, you know. In Demacia Cup, even though they weren't necessarily like perfect synergy, I feel like this game too is way more disconnected than what we saw in Game 1 and Demacia Cup overall.
Yeah, my read on OMG during Demacia Cup was that this was a team that, despite having some young upstarts or some players that necessarily haven't gotten all the most shine, was a team that unfortunately just didn't have too much in the way of shot calling. Now, Breathe literally takes no damage, by the way.
And it takes a while to take him down, but they eventually get it. And Hung cutting off his escape route means that Breathe could only walk to the left and try to fight it out and withstand the damage. Tian is going to force them off the minion wave here. Tian does have flash, but I don't think he's going to send it, as Harry also has his to be able to escape. And it's at least 1 kill for the side of OMG, but there's the combo. Grand entrance into the quickness. Bullet time gets its full channel duration, and Starry is chunked to about 1/3 of his HP left, but at least he's still alive.
Oh man, I was saying, look, they got the shutdown on top side. It looks great. We still have the dragon to play for. We have a Herald. We have the Grub spawning in a minute. Let's see if OMG are actually able to fight for that. They should be able to have at least their equalizer and the Maokai ultimate ready to go. This bot lane needs to take their reset anyway. You're probably just going to be giving up a plate here for Weibo's bottom lane and making sure that we can try to play for this objective, because again, 6 Grubs just so dangerous. You're always going to have that side laning threat of the Jace, especially with how tanky he is, and with how dominant the laning phase has been. Again, you are playing the Misfortune and this Rakan. You always have to be thinking, as OMG, are we actually going to be able to do anything? If Linfeng dies here, okay, there's no Victor ult, but still not great for them. Teleports are still up and available, so maybe we see some in there.
I mean, the nice thing...
No!
He might be fine. Hang on. Let him
Oh, I don't think he's dying. I just think he's messing up his team's tempo. Like, they all wanted to recall. I think maybe they'll play on the next wave for the Grubs, or they're just going to give this up and look for a bottom lane dive instead.
Tian does have Cyclone ready and available. And the fact that there's so much pressure on this bottom side of the map, full information from OMG knowing that Dragon was just taken by Tian, so he can support this push. This is first turret going over to Weibo Gaming. No more opportunity for OMG to play for the Feats of Strength objective, as that is already secured.
Wow. Okay, that's a great way. And look, that's egg on me, right? Just saying like, okay, look, you guys could play for grubs, but they just want to get the feat of strength, and that's a change in tactics thanks to the new set, thanks to the new season. So great job coming in from Weibo. They're going to trade it. It does mean that some of that split push is going to be a little bit more mitigated or mitigable thanks to not having the 6 grubs. But I don't think it really matters when you look at how this team really does want to operate. It's all about those team fights that we were talking about earlier with the Misfortune and the Victor. So, I mean, yeah, just impressive stuff. And we'll see if the actual boots upgrade become more meaningful. I think really we're just kind of looking at whether or not like the Tier 2 enchants are great, which give or take are okay.
Looks like Harry was able to slip away from detection from Hong and Light. So they have an opportunity to try and force an engage. It would have to be off of Mohem. Starting at Q Flash, the equalizer does not connect onto Light as he backs up, flashes away, cannot save his support, and OMG at least pick up another kill for the Troubles.
All right, we take those, get some kills. Gold into Harry, someone that earlier on in the Demacia Cup, we kind of saw the map slip go this way. I think we also got to see a little bit of it during Game 1, where Starry and Moham were on their own a lot, and Hung was sitting around top lane or sitting around Harry to make sure that he was okay. That has, I think, been the case for this team so far in the last couple of games we've seen them. So it seems like for right now, their strategy has been make sure that Harry gets a good laning phase, make sure that he's solid by himself, and then hopefully we've gotten some kills or gotten some gold for ourselves so we can transition that into a mid-game lead and maybe some power points to play around.
Yeah, I mean, one of those power points now is for the next couple minutes, Light has no cleanse, and the next few minutes, no flash either. Moham will have, you know, this ultimate available. Harry's equalizer will come up again, or if you want to, you know, play off of someone else, whether it's Starry's Curtain Call or the public execution from Linfeng, Weibo Gaming have shifted a lot of their resources and strong pieces over to this top side, getting a lot of turret plates and pouring a lot of gold into Light's pockets, as with Tian here in their back pocket, they can get away with this for sure.
I was going to say, not only is Light getting rich, but Tian's also been taking some of these plate golds. I don't know. Tian, look, I love you, man. Former world champion. You have a great illustrious. You're taking a lot of turret plates, man. He wanted his Trinity Force done. And Light greets for yet another wave. So he should already have completed his Bloodthirster by now, but it seems like instead what they're going to do is get some more turret plates, finish that up, deploy into mid, and I mean, now they have completed items on almost every one of their champions. I really feel strongly that this next dragon should be Weibo's. They should be looking to try to look for fights wherever they can with this core.
Yeah. OMG did just complete a second Leandries for Hung, so now both of their AP Bruisers have a chance to be able to fight for objective control by taking space in that river. The gameplay pattern, something that we saw from Maokai as we already have witnessed, I want to say at least, feels like a year, maybe 2 years of gameplay from Maokai rushing this Leandries, where they throw saplings into the bush, and then anytime you get hit by the sapling, thanks to the first strike and Leandries combo, you do take a bit of nasty damage thanks to it being max HP scaling. And so it does give you a way to not only guarantee vision, but also control these spaces for these objectives.
For someone like Maokai, and especially for junglers, I think when we think of First Strike, it really is about getting your second and third item just a little bit quicker than your opponent if you can try to really maximize the gold intake of this rune. So it's all about resource generation. And if we can see Hung continue to be on the ball there, he is matching Tian for jungle creep, but you know, also getting some of that first strike, especially like you were saying, the saplings by themselves already give you pseudo vision and a lot of control in brushes around the map. If you can try to get ahead of the curve as the enemy jungler, I think that's perfectly fine for someone like Maokai, especially if he gets 2 items. That could be something that kind of becomes a huge problem for Weibo. But Otacon is going to be spawning in 4 minutes. It is on the top side of the map. We have Herald here in 15, and I mean, Weibo are going to have so much gold. Tian again here, now with the Trinity Force, walks into the turret with his mid laner. They take this turret, they can take this wave, then move on over. It's going to be OMG answering with the Dragon on the opposite side, but I don't think it matters. Look at how much gold they're trying to get into this mid-jungle duo from the side of Weibo.
Yeah, I mean, this is their way of combating the gold generation that OMG are trying to play for on the map. This is now them leveraging so much map control, taking out that second tier turret in the top side of the map. They can now get pretty much... Nice, man. Good teleport. OMG still want to play for this fight, though. Tien might be in trouble. Tries to use the clone, but still gets tagged by that Maokai ultimate, and the equalizer is cooking him alive. Hong might be able to get out alive, but it's a flash, and Linfeng secures the kill onto Tien as well. Light, meanwhile, just taking the map advantage that they can go for, pushing through mid lane. Breathe and Xiaohu going for the turret on the bottom side of the map. Linfeng had teleported in, but Light wants to flash in. Public Execution will turn around for just one moment, but he cannot escape the wrath of Light as he sends a full bullet time channel, and the rest of Weibo Gaming continuing to leverage map control on their side.
This line of play from Weibo is absolutely incredible. It's going to turn into a Rift Herald here for OMG, but let's look at the resources they just got. They took 2 turrets in quick succession from top lane. They teleport down bottom lane, so they have Breathe and Xiaohu on the bottom lane. They take that bottom tier 2, get the TP out from Linfeng as well as his flash and the kill. I mean, in all, they've just generated themselves like almost 3,000 gold, as well as taking almost all of the lanes out from underneath OMG. While all OMG is getting is 2 kills and maybe a couple of summoner spells. If they can utilize this Rift Herald, maybe they can bite back and get some of that gold back in their pocket. But as of right now, that the last 2-3 minutes from Weibo should be back-breaking for this game.
And it just goes to show the experience disparity from both of these two teams. And as we take a look at the replay, while OMG are full sending 5 men to make this play happen onto essentially only 2 players, Light already committed to the mid lane push, takes out that tier 1. You already see Xiaohu had teleported to the bottom side of the map with Breathe, committing to the second tier 2 in the bottom side of the map as well. So just Weibo Gaming having way better understanding of playing the map.
That's 4 turrets, and I will say part of this is just having to be a Xiaohu team. Xiaohu, I think in 2023 was one of the best split pushing mid laners and was one of the people to actually get on the Tristana hype train a little bit before everybody else. And then we got to see him in the AD carry meta. Obviously, things didn't quite shake out perfectly for Weibo, but in a meta where side laning is such a key factor, someone who has been playing for such a long time, and especially for someone like Xiaohu, where it kind of is some of his specialty, being able to just manipulate the map is just perfect. It is kind of like his bread and butter as one of the mid laners here in LPL.
Yeah. It really just goes to show that this is kind of the play style we're going to expect and continue to expect from Weibo Gaming, despite the roster change with Tien and Hong coming in as the new jungle and support. They're pretty much still adapting to the same game plan that Xiaohu and Weibo Gaming and company have really set up as their blueprint. Now, Xiaohu, however, might be in trouble. Moham with the connect, but he flashes over the crash down in the Magnet Storm. He still gets out. And Hung might be in trouble as Hung connects grand entrance into the bullet time. Good night, Hung. That tree is getting chopped down to cinders.
Doesn't matter if you've got the first strike. It doesn't matter if you can't find anything. Tien is here as well. He's getting spicy with it. He's probably going to try and find something that's a flash out from Moham. Tien's continuing this engage. Has ultimate. Breathes here. Xiaohu's coming soon too.
Oh, he is itching to flash Cyclone. Just gets one more Nimbus Strike. Flashes away from the deadly flourish. They might be in trouble. Public Execution tries to lock him down. Cyclone spins away to safety. Now trying to block these curtain call shots is Xiaohu, defending his jungler from certain death. Breathe might not be so lucky. Deadly flourish connects, and Linfeng slices him down.
I know I told you this before we started the show, but Tien really is your spirit animal, man.
Dude, I'm saying.
I just saw the biggest Rafa engage of all time. Guys, I'm chasing this guy down. I'm killing Moham right now. He tries to look for the play. He forces out his own flash, gets Breathe's flash, and him killed. That is the most Rafa play. If anyone in chat has ever gotten the pleasure and the experience of being able to play with Rafa, he's someone who is always willing to push the advantage, always wants to look for a little bit more, but in that instance, Tien goes way too far and at least slows down the game here for Weibo. So Atakan has already spawned up in the top side. They've now summoned the Rift Herald in mid lane. I don't know if this is going to necessarily open up a timer here for OMG, but it looks like they're trying to focus all their efforts on this mid lane turret, maybe even going for the dragon coming up in a bit.
And big note here for OMG that not only this is the Leandry's Maokai, but I think he's committing to a full-on just sapling detonation build with, I think that's the build for the new Horizon focus, or since it's been changed up since the last time we saw it being built a lot by other mages in the past. But this Maokai is not tanky at all. He has 300 HP from the Leandries, and that's it. There's no real resistance runes in his kit. There's no real resistances being built. So if he ever gets caught out, this guy will get popped like a balloon. And for Weibo Gaming, if they ever see this Maokai step way too far up, I mean, that guarantees a free objective where there's no smite contest that will come in from OMG.
You saw the pings coming out. It doesn't seem like they want to start up this Atakan too soon. I think what Hung is probably going to be able to grab is maybe a Horizon focus second tier, so kind of indexing more on the amount of vision that you get from just the saplings. What Atakan is this? It's Ruinous again?
No, Voracious,
Man.
yeah.
Alright, yeah, sorry. This is Voracious again? Sag. Okay, well,
I think it's just telling us that
three,
the games are not bloody enough, Dimitri.
Man, well, this doesn't work for my storyline, because I really wanted to, like, continue, like, making the joke that, like, Voracious was going to be an LCK exclusive, but watching the LCK Cup, they did, like, almost all Ruinous, if I remember correctly, so they're doing better than us. They had some off-world players, though, so maybe that's what we need
that
to
was
do.
a show match. That wasn't the real deal, you know? Now, we'll see if they actually, you know, get super bloody once the LCK officially starts up.
Maybe it's Weibo's fault, because Weibo's the one that they're not making enough early action happening. I wanted to see Tian do, you know, crazy tricks at level 2, and instead he's waiting until level 11 to run it down into their pace.
Yo, Weibo Gaming social media manager, if you're in chat, we need you to, you know, tell the players, hey, step up the volatility.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe use some flashes level 1. Happens. Anyway, we're getting those second items coming through. It is that Horizon focus here for Hung, so he's going to have a lot of vision. It's also going to be the damage amplification for his team, which obviously is going to be very nice, especially when you are in a bit of a tricky spot, 7,000 gold down here, or 5,000 gold down here. But Otacon here for the side of Weibo, which means for the next couple minutes, they have a GA. So any flash that's up and available, Harry, you see that flash you have? That's not safe. They can just immediately come back, and we can do another fight here right in front of their base.
And as we talked about before, this is not a tanky tree. If you get jumped on, you will get popped. And already, just a few ticks of that Chaos Storm from Xiaohu already is forcing Hung back to the base so that he can recover his HP. The rest of Weibo Gaming trying to make this siege happen. I want to point out that Harry, I think, is going to be building our first use of the Bloodletter's Curse in the LPL, which is a new item, the only new item that has been introduced. We'll talk more about that later as the siege continues to happen. There's Hong. He sends it bullet time, rips through the front line, and takes out Starry. No marksman for the rest of OMG as they try to make the best out of this defense, but the inhibitor will fall, and Weibo Gaming now turn their eyes towards the mid lane, and they'll take a second set of structures on the way out.
Is that going to be game as well? I mean, they have another minion wave here from bottom lane. They still have the GAs that are in their back pocket, and they can teleport both Breathe and Xiaohu. Xiaohu does not care. One-shot that guy!
Yep, tree dead, no front line available other than Mohan, but he can't get in there at all. He tries to look for the Shattering Strike and the Magnet Storm, but it's not going to set it up. Wait a minute, Weibo Gaming are all falling down, but it's just all the GAs getting popped thanks to that voracious Otacon. And so yes, Weibo Gaming do get the happy game, send it all on the Nexus Towers, but they do not get punished for it whatsoever.
And if anything, what they got to do there is take a 5-second recall back to base, buy their items, and go straight towards this Baron, spawning right now at 25 minutes. Maybe one of the fastest Barons we get with the new timer being pushed back. They're right back onto the map, and look what they have. They're straight into the spot. Xiaohu has the Chaos Storm again. Voracious Otacon is just looking more and more OP. That GA is looking dangerous.
You know what, Dimitri? That is fastback if I've ever seen it. That is much more efficient backing.
That's a tempo
gaming to the max. Instead of just backing off and recalling, you just full send it, get yourselves killed under the tower, and then immediately get to buy your items and run straight to the Baron.
Beautiful utilization of the Otacon buff there. Means that it's a Baron coming in. We'll see what OMG can do. Looks like they're going to try and find and engage. Teleport from Harry.
1600. Hung, does he see it? Tien secures the Baron. Moham sends it with the Q flash. They pop Xiaohu. Can they look for more? Light is completely cut off from the rest of his team as Tien tries to escape over the Baron pit wall, trying to section off Starry. As he's forced to end the curtain call early, and the Cyclone is going to take out the Jhin as he flashes away, but Tien's got a flash Nimbus strike of his own to take out the marksman once again. Hung left all by his lonesome, got nowhere else to run, and with 4 members gone, only Linfeng up and Harry also available, I think Weibo Gaming feel confident enough to take the game to the end.
Moham is available. It's going to be a 3v3. Jungle and bot lane for Weibo and the solo lanes as well as their support. Linfeng tries to cut the wave.
He gets a decent amount of damage on the Light. Hang on, Harry. Flamethrower. Flame spinning. Good night, Light. Wait a minute. Weibo Gaming can't actually push for the end here. OMG will hold their ground here, but a teleport is coming in. Xiaohu, the reinforcements are coming for the second reprieve. Tien is low on HP, but Xiaohu will try to push them back, but it's just enough to guarantee that Tien and Hong will walk out alive.
They stop their base from crumbling. It's the flash as well from Light. But guess what, Rafa? We've got Dragon here. They've got all of their jungle camps. Tien can just jungle privilege his way back up to half HP, and they're going to go for this objective. OMG, we got to see you contest something, man. We saw you contest the Baron. Didn't end up going well. You were still able to defend your base. You kind of took away a lot of the Barons, which ended up being great. It's only Tien and Hung who have it now. But you're still losing a lot of these fights. You're going to continue to lose so much on the game just because of the way that your kits start to interact with your opponents. Rafa, I'm kind of sad because I really kind of wanted to see this young story from OMG of some players that have been in their development pipeline for a pretty long time getting their shot. But I mean, between the format being so cutthroat and just the group that they've kind of put themselves or gotten themselves into, it's not looking good for OMG.
Yeah, and I think the credit that you can give over to them that, Weibo Gaming are not going to be, pushovers or even, opponents that we expect that OMG should be, on even footing with. I think, the more reasonable matchup will be something like Ultra Prime, in the group.
Yeah.
JDG, maybe the way that Thunder Talk dispatched JDG, maybe there's a chance for OMG to fight against them if they haven't scaled up by the time we see them again here in LPL for Spring Split. But for Weibo Gaming, I had them as the first exiting the group. So, I'm not feeling too down on OMG. Obviously, there's things that they could have done better as they're going to send it one last Hail Mary engage. Tien gets caught. Oh my goodness, that might have been a Rafa engage after all. Weibo Gaming, they're going to have to survive.
Let's go, OMG!
Wait a minute, Xiaohu also falls. Weibo Gaming only down to 3 members here. Now Breathe comes in for reinforcements. But it's a 1-for-2 trade in advantage for OMG. They have the numbers here to make this defense happen. But Light and Breathe, they're going to see if they can test their strength against the 4-man stand of OMG.
Harry has not died this game, and as the guy who got the Rumble, we had big eyes for him coming into this game. And so far, despite all of that, Weibo earned 400 gold off of the Baron. I love LPL so much, man.
Brother.
Like, their observers will, like, go in and zoom in on, like, failed 1v1s, or, like, if you miss a cannon, they'll go for it. I love that we showed the graphic for 400 gold earned off of a Baron.
I have
never
to say, unfortunately, we were wrong that Harry did not actually go for the Bloodletter's Curse. The Riftmaker's is actually the same build path as Bloodletter's Curse, but it's okay. Riftmaker, pretty good item for Rumble. Meanwhile, this was a really nice setup from Moham and Linfeng, and even though Linfeng goes down, he is putting in work and making the best out of this champion and at least prolonging the game for OMG's chances.
Mbessa is a really fun champion, and Linfeng actually opted, instead of going for like a Conqueror build, but actually goes for the Electrocute, so really focusing on that all-in burst. But just so much mobility. She has some great shielding, thanks to not only using the Eclipse, but also one of her spells gives her a shield, so she has so much in terms of being kind of like a really difficult champion to really kind of lock down. But that engage on the Xiaohu had nothing to do with Public Execution or any champion that really Linfeng could have played there. That was just Mbessa doing what she does best, which is going after young, beautiful men. And, honestly, that's kind of real. That's real. I respect that. I respect the hustle. Doesn't matter if I'm in Arcane or in Summoner's Rift.
Oh man, yeah. That's all I can say. More news at 11 here on LPL Unofficial English Broadcast, y'all. OMG were almost down 9,000 gold before that engage, and now they shored up the gold difference to just under 8,000. As this engage from Hung actually is dodged by Xiaohu, but the equalizer tags him, and he's gone. Hung then flashes away. Breathe tries to close the distance with a flash of his own to the skies, and he is pinned over towards Weibo's Gaming's turret. Nothing else that OMG could have done to save their jungler, but at least they got another kill for themselves on the Xiaohu, but now they have to make sure that they can retreat safely. But limited engage tools from Weibo Gaming at a short range does make it sure that OMG are able to escape.
Look at the resources earned during that. No flash, no teleport now from Breathe. They did invest Hung's flash as well as the teleport from Lin Feng, so things you kind of need to take into consideration, but no longer having flash on Breathe does mean that he is a potential target for them as they make this engage in the mid.
Oh no! Starry looks and takes a step too far in the mid lane. Tian sends it. The Cyclone is just ripping through OMG members one by one. Lin Feng already forced the flash. Harry does the same.
Nice job, Harry.
Pops the stasis. Wait a minute. They might be able to buy some time, but Light rips through them with that bullet time, and Tian takes the crushing blow once again to Moham's face. A teleport from Xiaohu allows him to rejoin the fight. Hung is back up, and he is back down into the grave. And he's going to be on the gray screen simulator for the last few seconds of this game as Weibo Gaming clean house, full ace on the side of OMG, and the second game goes over to Weibo Gaming.
Why did the turret? But whatever, bro. That was a great game coming in from Weibo. It got a little dicey there towards the last 5 minutes. I'm glad we got to see OMG actually put up some fight, but it just wasn't enough. And I feel bad for Hung. He's not having a great game. I think Tian is just running circles around him. And to his credit, to Hung's credit, there are just some things that are out of his control. What was in control was that level 2 dive. But aside from that, his laners aren't really all there. Yeah, remember, this is the same game where we saw level 2 no
so
Maokai W.
My goodness.
Love this game. Love this game. Yeah, Lin Feng also just missed the ultimate in that last fight. Again, just it feels like this OMG roster is not clicking, at least today. Might just be a bad day. There are at least 2 more series after this that OMG get to play against the other 2 teams in the group, but this is a single round robin elimination. Top 2 advances. That's it. You're done.
Yeah, and for OMG, their chances of, staying alive in this opening split for the 2025 season of LPL is, gonna be slimmer if they lose this third game going up against Weibo Gaming, as that will officially be the win for Weibo. I think we're going to be waiting on some of the highlights from the second game, as well as getting a chance to see who wins player of the game. All right, let's start throwing down some contestants. I mean, Breathe kind of has a big plus for outplaying the dive, but I don't know how much of that is, like, Breathe obviously deserves credit for, flashing the crash down from Moham, but I don't know how much credit to give to him versus, how much to criticize OMG for the way they executed the dive,
Yeah, and we can kind of take a look at some other player. Is there anybody that we're feeling very strongly from the side of Weibo? I don't think Xiaohu's going to be able to gab it. I think that his Victor was decent, but the game really kind of, in a similar way to, I think, Game 1, I don't think the game really revolved around mid in the same way, and Victor kind of just showed up and things kind of happened around him. I do think Breathe probably going to earn it. If it's not him, then maybe Light for some of those bullet times, but yeah, this is another situation, similar to Game 1 again. Weibo take a little too long to end the game, so wacky stuff starts to happen. And, it kind of throws into question what we would kind of vote for. But if I had to ask you, Mark, a metaphorical gun-shaped object to your head.
Oh, God.
You have to choose an MVP vote right now. What is it?
I'll go with Light. I think the game, outside of the botch dive against... on cue! Outside of the botch dive against Breathe, I think the game completely revolved around the bottom lane for Light and Hong, and Tien, hovered a lot, making sure to play around and scoop up the dragons whenever they could. They fed Light a ton of turret plates to accelerate him into the game, and it was pivotal. Every time they set up an engage with Hong's Recon, bullet time followed through, and there's multiple times when Light got super aggressive, flashing forward after certain carries that OMG were trying to save, and Light would finish them off. So yeah, that's my vote.
All right, good. I'm happy about it as a fellow AD carry player. All right, we get to see this again. Let's go! We don't ever have Q. We don't have W on Maokai. I mean, Breathe just played this well. Look, whenever there's a great play that happens,
that's crazy,
dude. And then, bing. Now, one of the parts with tower dives is that they did also buff turret damage. So while they nerfed turret fortification on the turrets, they did make it so that turret heating up, it deals more damage. Instead of 3%, it's now 5% faster. It just does a lot, and it ramps, and it stays ramped up for longer. It's now 5 seconds instead of 3, so it's very, very noticeable when you go for dives. And
yeah,
that kind of spell doomed. I'm sure it didn't help that they also just lost game 1. So it's like, lose game 1, have a little bit of a break, do the draft, come into game 2, and immediately like, all right, guys, so game 3?
Yeah. I mean, we said it earlier. If you have a dive that goes that botched, you pray that, hey guys, this is just a scrim. We can, try again. Unfortunately, it was not a scrim for OMG. It was the real deal. And oh my goodness, this that burst from Xiaohu in the late game. That's what happens when the Maokai tries to go for the full AP build. It's not a traditional frontliner. But all of these bullet times getting a lot of work done for Light. I mean, he was just pretty much consistently outputting a lot of damage the entire game, whereas Xiaohu did have to, scale up and get to that point where Victor is a late game monster. Yeah, the more I look at these highlights, the more I feel like, Light should be favored for this.
Light should probably, if there's justice in this world, there's going to be a Light MVP. All right, Mark, it's the... Go ahead. Go.
Yeah, no. This is the Light propaganda that we want to push for LPL this year. Multiple rosters in the past. Light doesn't get to be the star player. It doesn't get to be the carry or the standout. Always on a roster with much more notable players just due to their career and history. But this is one of those games where Light is flashing forward in the misfortune. He's picking up the kills. He's just wrecking house with all these ultimates.
Yeah, like on LNG 2020, 2021, he has to play with Iwandi. I'm gonna just do a 07 salute for all the Iwandi knowers. Then he has to play with Lumao. Now, no disrespect to Lumao, MSI champion, thanks to being on that BLG roster. He's just the GOAT. He's won so many MSI, he's won so many LPLs now, just being as a bench player for BLG. Then he has to play. Then I'm looking at Light. He has to play with Crisp. Look, there's not a TS is not on the broadcast, so I can just say this. Crisp, I have a lot of criticism for this guy. Sometimes he has some of those low lows that are really dangerous, and as a Light propagandist, it's tough to see my support run it down on me. Okay?
There it is!
Yay! And then Light had to deal with that Weibo roster where he had the Shy and Weiwei, where they get all the way to Worlds Finals. Fraudulent run, by the way, because the Shy just decided randomly to show up with a paternity test for Bin for the first time in his career.
Oh no!
And then we get there. Then we had that Worlds Finals where they just get 3-0'd by T1, and they set up for the T1 Legacy Dynasty, whatever King's narratives. So, thank you to the LPL broadcast. Are we also going to get the misfortune thing on the side?
Yeah.
I am never going to be allowed to see these highlights because I'm going to be depending on the champion, too distracted. Because if they have Jace on that screen, I can't see anything else. They got Victor. Give me a Shamrock Malphite.
If they ever show an Italy highlight on stream, I will be in that driver's seat with you, brother.
True.
But,
all right. We can get lost in the traps.
Yeah.
It's called pushback.
I love casting with you, dude. This is a good time. You know, 2 games in, you know, we've already fallen off the rails a little bit. I'll try to see if we can get steered right back on track here. As just rolling through the highlights, I think for game 3, a lot of power picks are now pretty much gone. There's still things like the Vi and the Skarner that were permabanned in both games.
Yes.
Kalista permabanned in both games. Still some fighter junglers available, but things like the Rumble that the OMG was really counting on. I don't know, you know, what Weibo had specifically as the main counter to the Rumble, yes, this champion will directly counter the Rumble. They just played the map better. You know,
just lane swap. Remember, it's lane swapping. This is part of the reason why carry top laners are a little bit risky. You're just always going to run into the fact that you just get lane swapped on, and there, in terms of recompense, there's not much you can do. You can pull your jungler down there, but that's not great. And thank you to our producer for showing off wonderful light propaganda, deserving of MVP, deserving of a world championship, deserving of an MSI final championship and MVP. It's just a waiting area. You all can get on the train with me, but when Light gets a trophy and a piece of hardware and a piece of silverware, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear any disputes.
This guy specifically was the one calling for it before everyone else jumped on the bandwagon that eventually will be, you know, the Light show. But, you know, until then, you know, the real truer, the OG, is right here on your screen.
And if he has a bad split, it's not my fault.
We will absolve responsibility for any bad splits from Light from here on forth. But
Yep,
we're going to get ready for Game 3. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Game 3, potentially the last game of the series, will be on your screen. And we're back. Boom. Game 3 coming your way in just a few moments here. Draft will be starting whenever the LPL broadcast sends it back to us over on the feed. But for us, 20 champions are no longer available to pick for this third and potentially final game of the series. I'm not going to rattle them off because I can't remember off the top of my head all of them.
That's okay. That's what the graphic's for. The graphic will show us what champions
The graphic
are
will do all the work for us so that we can talk about other things and yap.
Yeah, I don't know. Fearless draft is cool, especially for some of our higher level teams. We get to see some different champions coming out from them, different strategies, and also it is going to be very fun for me to watch how teams play around these feats of strength. We obviously have our team kind of playing today, and we've already seen a little bit of a change in strategy. Instead of trying to immediately go for a 6 grub count or try to contest for that second grubs, we saw in that second game, Weibo just opted saying, we got the first blood, let's just get first tower as well. We already have our bottom lane here. We force out their recalls from bot lane. They're going to try and make this rotation. You can have the 3 grubs. We're going to get our feats of strength and the triumph upgrades instead.
Yeah, just the map play has been quite exceptional from Weibo Gaming. Obviously, if we had any criticisms, it would just be that the games feel a little too long to be closed out by Weibo Gaming. But, you know, we have to remind everyone as well as ourselves that this is still, you know, a not completely, you know, or it is a still kind of a new roster with Tian and Hong coming in as new pieces for the jungle and support. But so far, they're adapting pretty well, and they are, you know, still, you know, following the blueprint of what Weibo Gaming and Xiaohu have kind of, you know, set for this team for the past couple of years. It's strong side lane play, you know, playing for these turrets, you know, not necessarily the most volatile and the most bloody gameplay, but it is fairly effective for them so far.
Yeah, and something that we also haven't got to see too much from just the drafts is that the change in priority here. I think Weibo did end up learning a lot from Demacia Cup. Obviously, they did only end up with a top 4, but they were placing a lot of emphasis on getting their bot lane pair and giving Tian like last pick or close to last pick, letting him see a large portion of the draft, and that hasn't really been the case so far versus OMG's. Being able to get at least his jungler in the first 3 a lot of these times, so I'm kind of liking the adaptations already we're getting from tournament to tournament for this team, and we can kind of treat the 3 splits this year as going from tournament to tournament, kind of like in a similar vein in years past of going from spring to summer, your adaptations as a squad. Now we get to see that in a much more condensed and a little bit more focused style, where 3 splits a year, you're playing multiple best of 5s very early on into the year as well, so you're kind of getting all of that adaptation and inspiration very early.
Yeah, and just more opportunities to flex the depth of your champion pools as well. You know, we haven't really seen super crazy picks so far, but it has, you know, to be fair, only been 2 games. You know, this third game, you know, might be the first foray into something that is very, you know, non-traditional. We're going to see some of the same bans that we have seen throughout the entire series. The Vi, the Caitlyn, the Kalista, the Skarner. Other things that OMG banned with his Xinjiao. Once again, taken away from Tian. He's going to have to resort to a different jungler that is not Viego or Wukong either. So in terms of, you know, career fighters, Lee Sin's still up on the table. He can look at something maybe like if he wants to go for a tank, a Sejuani is available, but it does seem like Weibo Gaming has been operating much more successfully when Tian has something that he can skirmish actively with.
Mark, who's in that first pick?
That's Leona, bro.
Does Moham have that limited of a champion pool? Like, I get it, right? Because typically when we saw Moham, a lot of his success was on the engage. It was specifically on the rel, but, I mean, now we're picking first pick Leona when there are so many different champions in my mind that are available. Like, this Jax immediately coming in. For Tian, I wonder, so in 2024, his top 5 most played is Jin Zhao, Lee Sin, Sejuani, Maokai, Zyra. All time, it's Lee Sin, Viego, Sejuani, Gragas. Like, it just seems like they should just be playing around this top side, and they still have a lot of options for bottom lane. Yes, Ashe and this Varus are gone, but I think if you are someone like Light, you still have the Ezreal that's available for you. there are still plenty of options here for Weibo. I'm just confused for this Leona, as I think there are a lot of great pairs with her, but not necessarily a champion that you need to get off the table. Again, Nautilus is still up. I just don't, I'm not getting it.
I think the only thing that comes to mind for OMG is just having access to non-committal engage, and they didn't want to necessarily first pick the Sejuani for themselves either. You can always fish for a Solar Flare, and if it doesn't land, then, you know, you don't need to go in. But now they have other tools that can follow up on it. The Stranglethorn is not necessarily the best engage tool, but it's great for disengage and creating a lot of space. Fate Sealed can act as a great way to follow up on either of these two tools that OMG have drafted for themselves. But for Weibo Gaming, Light going with the Jinx, now already looking at the core of a recent composition. But if you want this recent composition to actually succeed, Alk, you gotta get some burst damage somewhere in this composition, and I imagine it's gonna be on Xiaohu's hands.
Look, Xiaohu's already played stuff like the LeBlanc. We still have Ahri, kind of surprisingly enough, a champion that we saw a lot during Demacia Cup and I thought would kind of stay as a staple, but just hasn't really been the case here. Xiaohu on Ahri wasn't a champion that we got to see all of, or for most parts of last year, and for Linfeng, he's kind of strayed away from this Ahri champion. Hasn't really been able to pick it. Getting his Yone is great, however. I will say, career, it's his most played, and it also has a 7-5 record, so not looking too bad. For Weibo, though, I mean, Sejuani and LeBlanc is not exactly a very inspiring combo, but I just don't know what Light is able to do on this Jinx in this game. Just you're getting it outranged by the Zyra. And if at any moment you don't have Flash, there's a Yone and a Leona who just jump on top of you and you die. So, gotta be careful here. And in support, I mean, Braum's gone, but you still have the Nautilus you can try to take if you want to get an engaged support from the bottom lane. I'm trying to take a look at what else could be picked here. You do have, I mean, Alistar is also taken away.
Is this
you could play Tom Kench.
Tom Kench would also work as well. You need some type of escape tool for the Jinx so that she can reposition around the fight. Poppy would...
Poppy's great here.
You can block a lot of the engage tools, you know, if... at least not... I don't know if you can block Fate Sealed with Steadfast Presence, but I know you can block the third cast of Yone's Q. You can block the Zenith Blade from the Leona as well. So even though it's not a reposition tool for Jinx like the Thresh Dark Passage or Tom Kench just being able to, you know, scoop them up with the ulti and save them, but at least you can try and deny ways for OMG to get on top of Light.
Okay, so they got the Ziggs, again, going for a bit of an outrange strategy here. Harry with last pick on his side for OMG. He's been giving a lot of resources. Obviously, the first pick Rumble, then we saw in that first game with the Cassante. Again, when we talk about this OMG roster, a lot of their jungle focus is towards the top side of the map. It's going to be the Aatrox into the Jack, so pretty okay position here for OMG, but they need a much more solid front line to be able to buy space for someone like Zyra and the Ziggs. Going to be a pretty big focus on Hung, who has not had the best series. I think Tian has obviously run circles around this guy, and now you have to be able to deal with the fact that you're playing into Sejuani. You got to be able to get those camps on time. You cannot lose a single step. You misstep once, and now there's a Sejuani who's just running over you. You have this Silas who could very easily just jump on top of you. Could be a bit dangerous, but this is, again, another draft from Weibo that can fall prey if they fall behind.
Yeah, but I will say that when we were looking at Xiaohu to pick up some form of burst, I think the Silas is not necessarily insanely reliable at always delivering on that burst, but the fact that he can grab something like a Mega Inferno Bomb or a Fate Sealed or a Leona Ultimate as well to guarantee an engage. Hell, you could even get a Stranglethorns, and if they overdive into your backline, you have ways of dealing with it. And then if you kill that one diver, boom, that's the first reset. And as long as Light gets that first reset, this is a fairly squishy composition from the side of OMG. You don't have a real high economy front line. It's just Leona. Everyone else is kind of relying on sustaining through lifesteal and just tearing into your squishies.
I'm glad that Linfeng's still having a little bit of fun there. He's kind of joking with him and Moham, but we saw this matchup, the Sylas Yone matchup, all of last year, or a large portion of the Worlds meta for last year. Like, Yone has some strengths in the laning phase that he's able to kind of manipulate, but once you get into those team fights, Sylas, especially in a side lane, can start to match that, and with that ultimate steal, it's all about those big team fights. So we'll see if Weibo are able to close this out. If they do, I think table setting wise, this is what we do expect for this Weibo gaming squad, right? Like, the names on paper with the kind of history that we've seen most of these players on this team already play, we expect for them to be a top 2 contender in this group. And so anything less than maybe a 3-1 is going to be really surprising here. And so it's on OMG to get those upset victories and try to push Weibo where they can.
Nothing too volatile in the opening couple of minutes of this game. No one really venturing deep into either jungle and getting some vision into camps. I think there was one ward, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no.
On the bottom side, yeah.
Yeah. I was looking at the top side, but now this 3-man core from Weibo Gaming actually, you know, pushing further deep into the blue quadrant of OMG. So ward from Starry will get spotted out by Weibo Gaming, and the Trinket Sweeper will not give them a chance to deny vision completely away from OMG. So they will have information that Tian is starting on this blue quadrant. And now it's up to Hung to decide, can he traverse to the other blue quadrant on the bottom side of the map and speed clear, trying to make use of, you know, this fast clear ability from Zyra.
If he can't do this versus Sejuani, then I'm going to be really sad. Either Sejuani is just the most broken champion in the game, which I agree with, or AP junglers just suck. And, you know, Zyra is kind of the one mage champion, aside from maybe like Karthus, who got away from the big AP jungle exodus, because Brand got basically removed from the jungle. But Zyra kind of stuck around, and I'm happy for her, you know? Zyra is a champion that's pretty underrepresented. I'm going to hold that as Hung tries to find something. Doesn't get much, uses his Ignite, which for Starry, I mean, he's doing fine right now. He's going to be able to pop a few pots. I wonder if he also went for Biscuits. One of the big changes this patch is that Biscuits no longer grant mana, but grant a lot of HP regen. And, oh, okay.
I mean, Linfeng has to go in, tries to stack up the Mortal Steel so he has an escape tool. Now has the third cast. But Tian is just going to flash right on top of him, guarantee the permafrost stun. But Linfeng, still alive, doesn't have flash as they're collapsing into Harry, but they can't bail him out in time. And even though Xiaohu falls, he does pick up the first feat of strength for Weibo Gaming through First Blood.
So it's a First Blood, but look at the big loser in this entire play. Hung tried to invade towards bottom side and immediately had to go back. So now he only has a single set of camps. He's taken 3 camps all game. Tian is going to be able to take his bottom side here. If he wants, after taking this blue buff, he should just race over to the other side of the map and try to stop this. Xiaohu's now going to walk over to try to make sure he can check this. Does he actually get the kill?
He might get the flash, but he's going to flash forward. He doesn't have enough range. Xiaohu will fall for it, but if Xiaohu is a true homie, which I suspect he is for Tian, he is typing to his jungler, hey, you know what? I prevented the Zyra from farming your topside jungle, bro. So you better repay that respect back to me sometime in the next couple of minutes.
Rafa, I need the sideline report. If you are Zyra in this game, are you typing FF right now? 4 minutes.
Oh, I've already alt F4'd. I've left the game, bro. Ain't no way.
So we've gone for the lane. So they tried to go for the lane split here. We get to see Hung here. Almost gets this kill on the side of Xiaohu, but has to utilize the flash. 20 HP is the lowest that this Zyra gets. And it's going to be a kill going over to Linfeng, but all these kills do not matter in my opinion. It is about keeping Zyra underneath the ground. They're now ganking this bottom lane. I think most of it is just to give a little bit of pressure, alleviate some of that pressure away from Light and Hung. But this Zyra has farmed 3 camps now. It is now respawned Gromp, respawned blue buff. No, not even respawned blue buff. Took the why does she have 16? She hasn't finished. What other camp has she done? Did she take some of the minions from mid lane?
Maybe. I'm not entirely too sure. Maybe
that's still sad though. Oh, we're going for the dive.
Yeah, and Starry is all by themselves. He does have a flash. Hung tries to get in range with the slam into the slow from the Q, but Starry does not get out alive. Permafrost falls through. The Ignite can guarantees the kill for Hung, but now that does sacrifice Light's own life as he had to push far and away from that tier 1 turret in between these two. And Hung, you know, considering that how disastrous the early game, clear was for him, he's picking up a lot of kills because Weibo Gaming are trying so hard to put him behind.
Now he's 500 gold ahead. What is this game? Why does catch-up experience work like this? Why do these kills work in this manner? He's just getting gold for himself. So all of the big question marks, all of the big sad emojis that I was throwing at for Hung here, he's doing fine. He might be a little bit behind in experience, and I think that is going to be more important, but I'm looking at the little purple bar that's under the champion portraits. He's not that far behind, and he still has all these respawn camps to pick up, so OMG have been able to stabilize through a couple of mistakes coming in from specifically Tian, who's making some early aggressive plays to look for some summoner spells, but Sejuani does not, the battle board does not have that much damage packed into the kit.
Yeah, we can definitely tell that Weibo Gaming have a clear goal in mind to try and really ruin this Zyra's game plan, but it's not going at all in their favor, and they're trying to challenge for these grubs, but Linfeng has Fate Sealed available, so Tian gets punished, and now Harry has collapsed with a teleport. Hong might be in trouble, forced to flash away, and OMG are actually capitalizing on the over-aggressiveness and the over-eagerness from Weibo Gaming so far.
It took them 2 games, but a Tian game is coming through. For all the Tian haters that are in chat, it's coming through. He's unfortunately just putting his team in such a dangerous spot. Him and Hung, I mean, we saw it in the bot lane dive, getting Light killed. Then they move in. He moves into mid to try to stop the Zyra from taking his topside camps, but then they just look onto the kill for Xiaohu. A lot of Weibo has been making sure that Tian is able to get resources, getting those turret plates for himself, getting some of those feats early, but now it's starting to backfire. 2,000 gold here for OMG. We've got the dragon spawning on the bottom side of the map. Tian is level 5 and is immediately moving into bottom side camps to try to contest. Maybe they try to find a dive, try to set up around Breathe, but I think for right now, Tian, you have camps. You have all these bottom side camps. They're using the priority out from Xiaohu to maybe look for something.
I mean, Xiaohu is going to try to collapse on down. He gets the Stranglethorns ripped away from Hung, and there is the shutdown, finally giving Hung his first death in this 3rd game of the series. Xiaohu still surviving thanks to the Kingslayer, and Linfeng just does not have enough damage to finish off Xiaohu. And Harry is not going to go down anytime soon either, but can't do anything to avenge his fallen comrade.
I mean, just Linfeng misses the E. He's not using the CC immunity from his Fate Unbound, and then the Q3 ends up being a little bit late as well. It's a small bout of errors that do turn into a positive play there for the side of Weibo, but that could have very easily gone in a bad position. Now Harry, he's like, I'm stepping up for the mini wave, but you know that Tian's behind you.
Honestly,
what?
Dimitri.
What?
You know what? This is what happens when Cubby plays top lane in our flex games. You know, he's like, hey guys, this minion wave is super overextended. I have to play for this wave, otherwise I'm super cooked. If Tian's here, then whatever, I burn my flash. You know, he ends up burning the flash.
We're going for a TP play for this. So Harry's now screwed because they cleared the
his
vision
wave is so bad. He has to do something to try to correct it, but Weibo Gaming are there for the punish. World Ender, he's just ended his own world right there. Now Starry, at least trying to take advantage of that no one is on this top side defending the tier 1 turret for Weibo Gaming. They get a couple plays for their side, and OMG are technically still ahead in gold, but almost every single lane was ahead, and now some of that gold differentials are starting to be shored up by Weibo Gaming.
Because Weibo over-indexed on the bottom side of the map, it did allow for, like you were saying, OMG to kind of put pressure on different sides of the map, Linfeng pushing in the mid lane, but now Weibo have, I think in a really smart way, started to shift some of the lane assignments. They let Xiaohu take over this wave, Breathe TP's top, you had Light who used his ultimate to clear the top wave and then shifted down into mid, so they're still able to pick up a little bit of gold for themselves, but ends up being a pretty great play all in all for Weibo as they're just trying to get gold in the right spots, kind of correct some of the errors of that early game that happened consecutively around the grubs and so on and so forth. 30 seconds before the second set of grubs is spawned here, and right now, OMG are focused on this bottom side of the map. It looks like they want to try to go towards this second dragon, or this first dragon here. I just don't think it's the right play, especially for a team that already has the first Elder, or the first Epic Dragon, or first Epic Camp taken, sorry. And that is one of the feats of strength, right? You have to get to first to 3 Epic Camps taken. And so once you take the second grub, then you're just looking at either a Herald or a Dragon, and then you're in a really great spot. And you always have to be worried, as this Weibo team, first turret is something that could be very easy for OMG since they do have the Ziggs.
Yeah. WB Gaming now with the second rotation of grubs on the map. How many people do they want to send to try and contest this? Hong and Tian already trying to gain control of the river. A little hard into Zyra, especially now that she has a Liandry's fully
teleport
completed.
coming
Tian tries
in.
to step up. Here comes Hong over the wall. Tries to slam Hong into the wall as well. But Tian gets bursted out, and that's their frontline gone. But here comes Xiaohu. He connects the chains. Even after the flash, Xiaohu putting on a clinic onto this Silas. But Lin Feng with the teleport will join the fight, and Xiaohu's got no other backup that can bail him out this time. Huge revenge kill for OMG as they stall out the map for this Grubs play.
That does stop the grubs here being taken by OMG, and Weibo just get caught out there. It was a great re-engage coming in from Hung, but I mean, none of the damage is quite there. Light is sitting over the wall with his Q. He's like, okay, I've got rockets, but I don't have a completed item. Look at where Starry is. Finished Luden's companion already. Hung already with this Liandry's. You're going for Heartsteel first item as Tien. Now, he started up this objective, but none of his damage dealers are here. Xiaohu has to walk back again. I wonder what ult he's going to be able to steal, because he should still have either the Leona ult, or he can maybe try to steal maybe Hung's ult. Yeah, so he still has the Solar Flare here. We're going to have a restart of this objective fight, but no ultimates available for the side of OMG, and that's not the same to be said for Weibo.
And Weibo Gaming might take their chances in their ability to skirmish just better than OMG with ultimates being down. But the first grub of that second rotation already secured for OMG. This should be the 5th grub of the game going over to them. There is one more grub to secure.
There we go.
And it looks like there's no contest. So now OMG being able to secure all 6 grubs, that gives so much split push potential power to this Aatrox, to this Yone on both of the side lanes for the rest of the game.
Oh, we're using Leona ult on Leona. Get solar flared, get solar flared, get solar flared. Okay, well, felt bad. It's okay. She got to experience the power of the sun, which is fine. You know, definitely within her kid. But you talk about split pushing pressure. Starry has been sitting in this top lane. Oh, we're just making an engage. Goodbye, Xiaohu.
Uh-oh.
And that's a turret. That's just straight up going to be a turret gone. 6 grubs with Ziggs. It's already at 2.5. OMG are going to get the first turret here. They don't have to play for this dragon that's kind of up and available, but if they get the Rift Herald in 3, you have to imagine that's going to be your first set of grubs. So they now have the first turret. I think this is one of the first times in the series we're actually going to be able to see from OMG the fact that they can actually kind of start to contest for a feat of strength.
Yeah, and I have to say, for Weibo Gaming, I mean, OMG, you know, credit to them, they were able to punish a lot of the aggressiveness that Weibo Gaming tried to force multiple times in the first 13 minutes of this game so far. But, you know, this is really a result of, you know, Weibo Gaming's mishaps and misexecutions. They're trying to push the pedal, which, you know what? They've already played the first 2 games fairly safe, fairly calculated, and they kind of stomped OMG all over.
Yep.
I can, you know, respect that this is their attempt at trying to push the
No, Moham, no.
Oh boy, Moham does not have flash, but he's got backup. He loses about half of his HP, but Sari's able to guarantee his safety, just throwing some snowballs that are packed with dynamite power. Glacial Prison doesn't actually really connect. Starry just walks out of it. No need to flash either.
I was mostly sad because there's a Heartsteel proc. I was a little worried. Heartsteel is one of the best items they added to the game. The dopamine of hearing the sound is just beautiful. It's great. It's one of the best things. It's up there with like Kleptomancy strikes and getting like a free level up or like a bunch of gold from it. Missed that rune. One thing I kind of want to talk. We're talking about the individual excellency, or like kind of how OMG are finally having a game that feels even between them and Weibo. Lin Feng is up 40 versus Xiaohu, and part of that is because Xiaohu has been pulled across the map so many times by Tian to go for these plays, but Yone's going to be level 11 soon. You also have to think about the Blood Roses that are going to be up and available. You see that he's very close to hitting level 11. It's one more kill or maybe even a minion here. As with 6 grubs, OMG want to try to take this objective. If they can get this turret down bottom lane, they can then set themselves up to look for the dragon that is also still up and available. It is 15 minutes. We have not had a single dragon taken this game.
Weibo Gaming have not gotten a chance to really capitalize. They've been so focused on trying to shut down this Zyra, and it did not go their way. And now they're kind of on the back foot of choosing and dictating which objectives can they really play for. They're not the first ones to set up. And when you're not the first ones to set up against a Zyra composition, it's so hard to walk in. It's so hard to challenge and contest. And this should be the third objective of the game. So OMG, feats of strength accomplished for their side.
They finally get it. The first time in the series we get to see from OMG them being able to take those feats of strength, so they'll get the triumphant boot upgrades. They'll also have access to tier 3 boots once they finish their second legendary item. A very big spike for them if they can actually convert it into a win. I know from our games we were saying, hey, this is a snowball meta, but we kept winning even with or without the feats of strength. And they are by no means backbreaking. I think the only ones that might be a little bit questionable and definitely need a nerf even after the micro patch today, got to be those tank boots. With the plated steel caps and the merc treads, the shield that you get, it's 15-second cooldown, but it is just too insane. It's free. Think of Camille passive every 15 seconds. It's just not okay. That and the Sorkpen boots, but Sorkpen boots already got nerfed today, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the fact you're getting 4% max HP on a short passive cooldown is pretty crazy. And now OMG are going to continue pushing the pace of this game even further by starting up this Rift Herald. Weibo Gaming wants the challenge. Tien's the first one in the river. Hong on the left side trying to collapse as well. But once again, we talk about how hard it is to challenge Zyra in these corridors when she is able to get those plans stacked up. Hong looking to separate them with his Keeper's Verdict. Goes wide. Does not connect onto anyone. The Glacial Prison connects onto Moham.
Oh, nice steal!
Tien. Strangle Thorns. Tien does steal the Rift Herald away, and that denies it. But now Weibo Gaming are trying to collapse in through this corridor, and OMG have to fight for their lives in here. Linfeng cannot get over the wall with the Fate Seal. Ken's Breathe blocks it, and Light gets the first reset of this fight. And it's going to be enough to deter the rest of OMG from trying to stay in this river. And Weibo Gaming, for the first time, able to find an advantageous fight for themselves.
Mark, the OMG from the past 2 games is starting to creep back in. That fight was incredibly messy. Positioning-wise, Starry's nowhere near. He's getting focused down by Xiaohu and by... I mean, we could just take a look at this. So, Starry already kind of disconnected, but this is fine. We're still with the rest of our core team. The teleports are coming through. And while Tien does die, he gets the steal. And I love this coming in from Weibo solo laners. They put pressure onto Starry so he can't be here. Linfeng gets crashed up against the wall by Hung. And there's just no one from the side of OMG. They just feel lost. Hung is kind of sitting in this kind of brush, sitting in that corridor. Like, okay, well, I used my Strangle Thorns. We didn't really kind of turn it into too much. We still lost the Herald as a team that has 6 grubs. And they were able to get the flashes off of a lot of key members there. So a great fight from Weibo and starting to prey on some of the mistakes from OMG that we've been seeing all series long.
And now they're trying to force another fight in this bottom quadrant. Xiaohu takes the Solar Flare from Moham. Breathe might be caught out here, and I think Weibo Gaming are just going to leave him to die. Big shutdown does go over to Linfeng on this Yone. It's a nice amount of gold. Continuing to accelerate this swordsman in the sides of OMG. But Linfeng stays for one wave too long. Can he find an angle to Fate Seal his way out of there? But the Soul Unbound keeps him tethered, and the 2 frontliners are just going to stay on top of him, so this Fate Seal does not get much done. Wait a minute, Mortal
Wait, his team's here, though!
Collapsing, wait a minute! And Light's not there for the fight. He only sent the Mega Death Rocket, but he's not actually there to bail them out. Xiaohu falls, and OMG once again punish the over-eagerness from Weibo Gaming.
And it's the really impressive rookies coming in from OMG. Linfeng and Starry this game have had standout performances so far. They haven't been able to piece it together in this series, but it finally feels in this 3rd game of the best of 5 that Linfeng and Starry actually kind of get to play some good old League of Legends. We have the individually that Linfeng has over Xiaohu. You have Starry on this Ziggs who has been performing very, very adamantly. And so far, I don't want to call it quiet yet, but this is still the closest game we've gotten, bar none, in the series so far. And it comes off the back of 2 of the big developmental pieces coming in from the OMG pipeline.
And one thing that we didn't get a chance to really highlight for Linfeng on this Yone pick, obviously last year he was a big control mage player. A lot of his most played champions, Hui, Nico, Karma, Akali, Orianna. But his career most played all time is this Yone champion. The fact that he's getting a chance to display it on full blast in this LPL third game against Weibo Gaming, one that is pretty much, you know, make or break. These are the games where you no longer have, you know, that reprieve for another loss. You have to win these games throughout if you want to come back in this series. And Linfeng being able to survive in a 1v3 like that, my goodness.
Okay, it's going to be second Dragon of the game at 21 minutes. Okay, it's going to be a slow one. Now, Weibo have not been strangers to a slow game here, and they have so many comeback mechanics just by way of, I think, the players, and also by having someone like a Jinx. It takes one kill. It takes one reset in a fight. Now with Yuntal Wild Arrows and this Runons, if we get to 3 items, Rafa, we got to start thinking about a potential comeback from the side of Weibo Gaming. But we have been seeing more every time and now. Linfeng gets into the backline, he creates havoc, you kill the really squishy backline. Same thing with Starry. As long as this lockup comes through, we should be seeing OMG be able to close out fights. Maybe with an Otacon fight here now, that could be something that's we're kind of looking at, but both of these teams are not really in the position to contest for this objective quite yet, and it is the oh my god, the Voracious variant. Yet again, 3 games in a row of Voracious Otacon.
You know, I definitely thought that, considered how bloody this game was turning out to be, that we were for sure going to get a ruinous Otacon, but unfortunately, that day is going to have to wait before we get to see, you know, the gray shade of the new objective in LPL. But for Weibo Gaming, a lot of the game plan that OMG has been doing is kind of the similar veins of what Weibo Gaming has wanted to do. And the one fight that they did get that was pretty advantageous for them was all about Breathe and Xiaohu creating disruption into the backline. Very similar to how OMG want to operate on their fights. So I imagine it's just going to come down to who is picking the better flanks, who is able to, you know, really cause much more disarray in team comms, as Xiaohu is now looking for that flank once again. Engage from Tien, right onto Harry, and they're pushing him back, but now Xiaohu is deep behind enemy lines, and he no longer wants to be here. He has forced the flash away just so he can close the distance on that blast cone and ensure that OMG don't punish him for going too far forward.
This entire time, they summon the Rift Herald at the bottom lane. It's made its way through halfway in the lane, and it's just going to get picked up here by the side of OMG. There's a lot of pings coming out from Weibo about, hey, maybe we go for the Otacon, maybe we go for the Otacon, but that's just not going to be the case here. Breed's able to leap strike out, and this Rift Herald got wasted, so Weibo lose, again, more resources around the map. They lose the Rift Herald, they lose Xiaohu's flash during that play. Weibo, what the hell, man? Like, what's going on, dude? What's going on over there?
There's definitely an entertaining aspect to how fast they're trying to play the game compared to the first 2 games. I mean, I definitely love the psychopathic mode that Xiaohu has entered since the hater behavior he displayed towards Hung, trying to deny him the red quadrant jungle, which unfortunately got himself killed and, you know, gave a little bit of that lane advantage over to Linfeng, but he's been playing the same way for this entire game, and honestly, I kind of like it. It's very fun to watch at the moment.
Oh, for sure, it's very fun, but, I mean, he's sitting on the side lane now, he'll be able to teleport. It looks like we're seeing Hung try to find a flank angle on this fight. Weibo want to go for this.
Keeper's verdict at the ready. It punts away Hung, so there's no Stranglethorns that can stop them. That's one member taken off the table from OMG, and it's a Solar Flare that is also gone. OMG are going to have to rely on other members to safely enter and look for that engage.
They're trying to go for this Otacon now. Hung's in the area. He's clearing vision. It looks like after these 2 waves in mid and top, they're going to immediately move towards this objective. Moam's going to be back up in 5 seconds, so instead of fighting for this, Weibo are instead trying to position around this topside jungle, get vision for themselves. Are we going to... Now, I don't think Otacon despawns, if I'm correct.
I don't think so either.
It should.
We've never-
There's no reason for it to despawn, but I think that being able to have like a 30-minute GA, 30-minute GA proc for free is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
As the game goes on, having that free GA that respawns you after 5 seconds and gives very little resources to the opponents, the value just gets higher and higher. And Tien,
Wow.
the Sejuani ults are at the very least adventurous.
I mean, he's trying to fish for the Ziggs, but this is now, I want to say, either the second time or the third time that Starry has just kind of laughed off the engage attempt from Tian, not needing to use the flash. The first time he sidestepped it, this time he just uses a well-timed satchel charge to jump away from the tool. And now for Weibo Gaming, it's all on, different ideas for them to try and see if they can find a way to force another fight. Solar Flare, there's Starry's flash. And now it might be a little easier, but Lin Feng is just wrecking Tian's day, slices that board down like pork slices, and now that's going to be nicely done for OMG. They pick up another kill. Lin Feng, the Yone, is just cooking Weibo Gaming, and he even goes for Light, but it's not enough damage. Now Light.
Here we go!
They got to be careful, because if Light finds any more kills, he can wreak havoc on all of them, but Harry finds one to be able to trade back and keep distance on Weibo Gaming. Starry holds them back with the bombs. And Weibo are just grateful that they didn't lose their entire team.
Light almost completely rips apart that fight. It's that range advantage, but it's Lin Feng sitting on the back line. He's also able to get the flash away from this Jinx, and that is a huge find for OMG. As we get into this replay, the satchel bomb, it's a single auto attack and the turret dies. Starry flashes out, and from here, where are the damage dealers? The TP is coming in from Breathe and from Harry, but it's just Hung sitting in the back line. No one else is dealing damage to him. Xiaohu is getting knocked up and thrown around in this fight, and all the while, Starry full HP. There's a really close one coming out from Light. It's literally a single auto away. If Light is going to get hit one more time by this Yone, he goes down in there. And while it's a great fight at the very end from Weibo, it's getting way too close, and we're seeing some of those compositional things that we were talking about from the draft there. It is almost entirely on Light in this game to be able to carry the team and bring Weibo to a 3-0. If not, OMG are going to find first blood finally in this series and get themselves a series, at least a victory.
And now it's even more imperative for Weibo Gaming to defend and protect their Jinx, who is now down a flash. Still has a cleanse for this dragon fight. And 3 items to their name. It really is all about how well can they carry Light through getting that first reset so he can clean the rest
Breathe
up.
on a super
Breathe,
flank.
deep flank through fog. Looking for Starry. No flashes
Whoa,
needed over
they don't
the
know.
wall. They have no idea. And Starry is primed for the killing. Yes, they take the dragon and Starry is forced out of the fight, but Lin Feng makes it out with a well-timed Fate Seal. They turn towards the front line. Hong takes out Hong, and now the rest of Weibo
There's
Gaming
the
just are
resets.
relying on Light. They get the first reset onto Harry. Xiaohu was traded, but Light is able to take out the jungler, and now all eyes are on the top 2 objectives, both Baron and Otacon available for the taking.
They're going to probably go for this Baron, but they look a little confused. Weibo instead take their jungle camps. They take the fact that they won that fight, but now it is Dragon Soul here for OMG. And a close game at bat here as OMG are fighting for their lives to stay in this series, as one more win, one team fight win, and another Nexus going down means that Weibo are going to start off this Group B 1-0 with the best of 5 victory over OMG. This game is great. I'm glad that at least we got one competitive game from OMG. For all the people who've been here from the beginning of the stream, it has been a stomp from Weibo. 2 games back-to-back, and finally we're getting some fight back. It's going to be an Otacon going over to Weibo, and like we said earlier, 30 minutes now. They have 5 minutes worth of GA that they can use at least once, and we already saw how OP it was in the last game.
Yep. They just ran it straight down in the mid, was able to take out one Nexus turret, and immediately, fast base, take the Baron off the back end. As we take a look at the replay for this last fight.
Man, that was super close. Great job from Hung to be able to grab that for his team, but yeah, this was another fight where a lot of the damage dealers for OMG, specifically Lin Feng, didn't get into a great position, and it turned into the fact that the Yone was in a big part of the fight. If he's able to deal a little bit more damage, I think that this definitely goes a little bit differently for the side of OMG, and Weibo kind of back to the drawing board yet again. It's only 2,000 gold lead, but 3 items here for Starry, 3 items here for Light, and if he's able to get the Infinity Edge, maybe there is a bit of a difference in the arguments here, but for Starry, he can very easily just optimize into like Azonia's 4th item, and then all of that kill threat that we're expecting from Weibo starts to get harder and harder to find.
And Breathe has been quietly performing well for Weibo so far in these fights. He's been causing so much disruption. He's been picking up a lot of these sneaky kills onto the back line and finishing off any stragglers. As now they're trying to challenge for the Baron. They turn right onto Lin Feng. The Soul Unbound does not take him out alive as he gets the Fate Sealed and the well-timed locket from Oham to keep him alive. But there's Breathe once again. A straggler on the screen, and he finishes them off. Harry trying to defend the rest of Weibo Gaming from getting into the back line, but he is not going to be long for this world as his world is about to end. Breathe is just destroying them under the turret, and he's got the GA from the voracious Otacon. He's going to be able to respawn back on the map. No teleport, but the rest of Weibo Gaming can now turn for this Baron.
Why is this Otacon buff so damn broken? Look, they could just do that. They just get the fight. And look, even if Tien dies here, he can just TP back. Not a TP, but he can just walk back. It is a Cloud Drake map, so he'll have extra movement speed around these buffs. Looks like they're going to try and make a re-engage here. Breathe is back.
Yeah, they can get so aggressive. Breathe, Counter-Strike, Moham, nowhere else to go. His teammates had to bail. This Baron is secured for Weibo Gaming, and the hope that started at the beginning of this game for OMG, that gold lead has finally disappeared. And the last bit of that light is starting to dwindle here, Alk. Weibo Gaming now regaining full control of this game.
It looks so good. The first 25 minutes of this game for OMG. They have still some avenues to play. Level 16 coming in soon for Lin Feng. We can take a look at this replay now. I feel so bad for Starry as this was such a great fight from him. He's getting so much pressure into this backline, and while he's able to buy space, especially with Lin Feng being able to kind of extend how long this is, the Otacon respawn is just too broken, man. Oh, we're getting right back in. Hung's dead! What?
Oh,
why is he dead?
I got no flash, but Weibo Gaming must have caught him out on vision. And a flashless Zyra means it's very difficult for you to actually step up and try and gain space. You're just super squishy and super gimpable. And for Weibo Gaming now, numbers advantage on their side, 5-4. They're pushing in through mid. They're pushing in through bot. Baron buff on all of these siege minions is going to give them that extra edge to take out these inhibitors. As they look for the engage.
Oh, here we go.
Glacial Prison on the Lin Feng, flashes away from the Mega Death Rocket. Hung comes in over the top, slams Harry into the wall. Good night, Aatrox. As Light gets the first reset, tears through that tower. Xiaohu, Solar Flare looks for Starry, forces the flash out. Hong falls to Starry on the back end, but they do not care. They can get the objectives that they want. They take out the structures of the bot lane. Mid lane will fall next, and they might just look for more.
Got another
but
reset
OMG
though.
Whoa,
Lin Feng, no!
Shorts it. He was looking for the Fate Seal to turn this game around, but that gives Light the resets he needs. The flash forward to end the game. No game 3 for OMG victory. It's just a 3-0 sweep for Weibo Gaming as Light picks up the quadra kill.
That's going to be the end, and this was the fight that we were looking for. It all takes one kill. Light gets his resets, Light gets excited, and like we just said, Weibo are going to take the Game 3 and a dominant series over OMG here as the first game of the LPL Split 1.
And that already has repercussions for this Group B, Dimitri. Remember, it is single round robin. As soon as Weibo Gaming win one more series, they are guaranteed to go through the bracket stage. They would still have to play one more series to determine who would be the higher of the 2 seeds, but this already sets up Weibo Gaming for success in advancing into the later stage of this first split.
And think about it, they play on Wednesday. One of the things we were talking about before the show was kind of how fast this Group B actually plays all their games. They're actually going to be done with kind of qualifying who's going to top 2 by next week. They'll have their 3 games there. They're kind of 3 or 4 games done by then. And for Weibo, they play on the 15th. So in 3 days' time, they're playing up against Ultra Prime, a team that we looked at the predictions. Everybody has Ultra Prime going 4th in this group. if Weibo take that win, like you were just saying, they're qualified immediately for playoffs. Whether it's the first or second seed is up to their series versus JDG and how JDG performs in this group. But
yeah. I don't know if you got a chance to see, but, you know, in the first 2 game defeats, OMG were still kind of lighthearted, but this game 3 faces definitely looked so much more crushed. I think in this game when, you know, compared to the first 2 where you were, you know, severely at a disadvantage and things kind of, you know, blew up at the beginning of the game and it was very hard to recover, this one definitely feels so much more painful to have had a sizable realistic lead that they could have played through and it just slipped away.
It's so tough, especially for a team, because it's like we finally got Linfeng a really comfortable champion. I think that we also had a bot lane matchup that finally went in the favor of OMG and everything started to come together. Game 1, they had the double kind of lane, or the double range bot lane that Moham lost his flash level once, so they weren't really able to pressure. Then they turned into a split map with the jungle, so the TN's on their side of the map. Game 2, the turret dive. If you want, you can go to LPL English Twitter and you can just go see that dive. It was pretty terrible. And then Game 3, we finally get it to happen. It's a great early game. They get the feats of strength. Everything's looking good for them, but it's that late game kind of decision making, and another game where it's some of those mid-game, late-game flubs. Hung getting caught out there at the very end kind of turns into snowballs into the Nexus exploding. The fact that they were able to stop Starry from dying, and part of that is the Otacon GA, the Baron. Big wins for Weibo, and my eyes now is some of the same criticisms we had of Weibo coming into Demacia Cup is they take really long to close out games, and not all of them are very clean. So if this team is going to be one where they're trying to push for a championship, push for deeper runs at internationals, we need to see them shape up.
Yeah, and thankfully for them, you know, this is still the very early stages of the 2025 competitive year. So, you know, this is between Demacia Cup and now our first official best of 5 of the LPL now concluded. We get a nice preview of what Weibo Gaming can do. And I have to say, I'm, you know, on board with that Light propaganda that we've been pushing since the beginning of the series. Light looked fantastic.
I love you, Light, so much.
Being given the keys to the kingdom in 2 games where he's not having to play Ashe duty or Varus duty, you know, no utility marksman.
Yep.
He gets to play Misfortune. He's flashing forward and hitting people upside the mouth. He is flashing forward on Jinx, looking for the resets and ripping people to shreds. This is the Light that, you know, every Light fan has been wanting to see get put on that pedestal, be shown in the spotlight, no pun intended. And now, in this roster, it seems like this is a possibility.
All I'm saying is we have Church of Chovy. We have to do something a little bit different here for our boy Light, but maybe it's walk into the light. Walk into the light.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to workshop this. Great job, I think, from Weibo. I think we got to see some of the really high highs that this team could potentially. I think the first game in particular, Tian just did, I think, one of his best games in terms of being able to play against someone like Hung, and then we got to see 2 great games from Light as well. I'm still on the fence as to what this team can look like if they're really all playing at peak, as I think Hung didn't have the best overall series, but still was able to find marks where he could, especially on Engage. And, you know, it's never a TN series or a TN team without one of those games. And the Sejuani just happened to be that one. And it didn't matter. Didn't matter. Him and Xiaohu locked arms, ran it down together, and we still won the game.
You know, there was something almost... I don't want to say useful is not the right word, but there was something kind of like effective about the way Tian and Xiaohu sprinted so many deaths this game. You know, maybe not so much from Tian's perspective because there was a lot of missed ultimates onto Starry, but Xiaohu, even if he was dying a lot of times, I felt like Xiaohu was at least doing it with a purpose and at least getting the purpose done before he fell eventually to OMG, right? And I think
Yeah, Go, finish.
You know, just the fact that he's playing the Silas and he's playing like a psychopath. And I really love when people do that, because you are putting so much fear and putting so much pressure onto the backline, which you cannot let Ziggs freely just try and lob bombs, right? You have to try and pressure them.
Yeah. This is one of the kind of things that we want to see from this Weibo team, is just that ability to do something. The big criticism last year when they had Tarzan join the roster in summer is that they just sat around and like fell asleep. They did absolutely nothing, and they would just lose the game because they don't want to pressure for objectives. They don't want to try to go for plays, and it is going to take some calibration from this team to figure out, okay, like what exactly is good to go for, what is a int play, but we're getting that from this team, and it is the beginning of the season. They had Demacia Cup to also try to test out some of those limits. We're seeing some limit testing from Weibo, and with the new roster with Tien, I think that people would have said, okay, Tien, he's a great jungler. Does he have the same versatility as someone like Tarzan? I don't think he does, but this is, I think, the roster that they needed. I think for Xiaohu and the rest of this Weibo team, they need someone to do something. And Tien, for better or worse, is going to get stuff done.
Yeah. And when you have, you know, Hong coming in as support as well, I think Weibo Gaming at least taking one of the 3 games from this series to really just slam the acceleration pedal and see how far they can push their limits, you know, and to put it quite politely, they effed around and found out a lot, you know, in the early game.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's what that's kind of.
That's a nice way to politely put it for a family-friendly audience. And look at that, Light MVP! And surely with a second player of the game, that should give him the series MVP as well. I really don't think I would give it to anyone else. There might have been an argument for, you know, Xiaohu's consistency, but just considering a lot of, you know, outside of game 1, where, you know, the damage share was largely in Xiaohu's Aurora, this really was a Light show.
I think for a baseline, either you're giving it to Light or Breathe. I think Breathe series was great here. We're getting to see Arcane Survivor Jinx. I really love that we changed all of the Arcane Season 1 skin names for absolutely no reason. Happens, but only right that we give it to our boy in the AD carry position. And yeah, again, this is an expected result. I know we're getting excited. We're kind of having some fun. We're poking some, we're throwing some prods over at OMG, but this was the expected result. I can even look at the predictions that a lot of the casting crew put in. A lot of them, or almost all of them, are all Weibo favored. If I take a look, yep, 3-0, 3-0. Lennon has a 3-1. You have a 3-1.
I also had a 3-1, yeah.
Yeah. Slayer put in a 3-0. So everybody kind of across the board agreeing that this should be a Weibo series to take. And this was mostly a temperature check as to what we should expect and kind of the future of this group, as we do think that this group is kind of locked up, and it's up to those upset victories coming into these best of 5 series that are really going to kind of make or break this group. Can Ultra Prime or the side of OMG get a win in a series that they're not really expected to?
Yeah, and, you know, to give credit where it's due, the early game that OMG was, you know, kind of gift wrapped by, you know, Weibo Gaming's over-eagerness and misexecution of trying to really put the Zyra into the ground. It gave opportunity for both Linfeng and Starry, the 2 main developmental pieces of OMG, to shine for a bit. I mean, yes, they didn't win and they weren't able to carry it all the way through, but, you know, there was a solid 20-25 minutes where Linfeng's Yone was genuinely impressive, where Starry's Ziggs was genuinely impressive, and that's something that you want to look forward to as a longtime fan of the organization and watching, you know, 2 young players grow. Yeah,
we said this at the top of show, but for this OMG roster, we're not really expecting immediate success. But it really is about not only gaining some reps here in Split 1, but really trying to hit your stride in Split 2. So if you have no idea, or maybe you're just joining us and you're kind of confused about the format, big thing is if you go out bottom 2 in your group, you're done for Split 1. So you have to wait for the rest of Split 1 to finish with the playoffs. Yeah. You have to wait for First Stand, the first international tournament that's coming in, and then you go into Split 2. You're going to be playing, again, similarly, either a bunch of best of 3s, bunch of best of 5s. And there's a very high likelihood that if you finish bottom 2 there, which I don't think OMG is going to, but always have to be in the back of your mind, if you don't hit the ground running and you're not able to kind of prove yourself, your season ends in June. And that's terrible. So we really want to see a lot of these development rosters that are kind of picking up either newer players or players that have been in their pipeline for talent to kind of make their way into Split 2 and really battle, specifically probably in that lower group, as it's going to have a 2-group system similar to if you were watching Summer of last year.
Yeah, a lot of things to look forward to as we watch this split unfold, and then get ready for Split 2, where those developmental pieces will really have to by then lock in if they want to make a run for the final split of the season, since this is pretty much our first year of running, 3 splits within the LPL and on a global scale.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think that all of the kind of different formats that are coming out are really cool, and obviously LPL, best league in the world. So of course they have one of the more intense formats, I will say. It is very cutthroat, but that's the kind of the end of our show here. It's not an unexpected result, but there were some ups. There were a lot of downs for a portion of it, but I mean, yeah, it's good to see Weibo still on top, and for OMG, some exciting stuff, especially if you are a fan of not only the team, but maybe some exciting rookies.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, one of OMG's, longest talent developmental pieces that is now starting to make a bigger name for himself, Cream, was in OMG's, organization for quite some time, and now on Top Esports, he's an exciting player to now watch, earning 3rd All-Pro mid last summer, and I expect to see even more greatness from him coming in the new Top Esports roster for the split. But obviously that will be for another day when we actually watch Top Esports on the broadcast. For now, yay! Day 1 of LPL in the books, y'all. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to my co-caster, Alk Battery. Thank you to our wonderful production crew and the rest of the LPL unofficial English broadcast for everything that they do and helping us put on this show, and all the viewers at home for supporting us through this all.
Yeah, it's great. And again, if you are looking for more LPL, we'll be back tomorrow, same time. It is going to be Thunder Talk versus LNG. And we're going to be having games every single day of this week and of next week. So we have a lot of best of 5s in front of us. Every single day is going to have some LPL action. So you won't want to miss it. Make sure that you're following. And if you want to help us monetarily, you can subscribe on YouTube, Twitch, or even help us out on Coffee.
Yeah, and to wherever you are watching at home in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good night, stay safe, love you all, and thank you for watching.